to go big during his address tonight.
When we are sitting in a country right now where inflation and gas prices and crime are going down and paychecks and tax refunds are going up, you have a secure border again, you have a restoration of peace through strength. We're respected around the world again, solving wars along the way.
On Fox Business's Kudlow, at least 70 Democrats, including Congresswoman Catherine Clark, the number 2 House Democrat, will not attend. But Minnesota Congresswoman Angie Craig says she will be there.
I would rather stick forks in my eyes than be here tonight to listen to Donald Trump talk about the State of the Union. But this is the people's house, and I will not abandon the people's house.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will deliver the Democratic response. Listen to our live coverage of President Trump's State of the Union tonight, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com. The Trump administration is sued by Democratic state attorneys general over government changes to the childhood vaccine schedule.
California's Rob Bonta and Arizona's Chris Mays announced the legal action. Mays outlined the argument that the new schedule, removing hepatitis and COVID vaccines, among others, wasn't based on science, but an ideological agenda.
One that Secretary Kennedy has been pushing for years.
Bonta said Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. has a right to his opinions.
He isn't entitled to use his opinions as the basis for breaking the law and endangering our children.
The Justice Department is involved in a separate case in Massachusetts against the American Academy of Pediatrics, arguing Health and Human Services is not acting on an anti-vaccine agenda.
Fox's Gernal Scott. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app ahead of tonight's State of the Union address. We'll be carrying that live at 6 p.m., not just carrying it live, but also giving you live reaction afterwards. Guess who's going to be in attendance? Yes, the U.S. men's hockey team. They will be there. We'll talk about the opportunities that Trump has to bring us all together because of these special guests. But first, should the city of Seattle buy the Seahawks? That is a question that was posed to me. I've got a response. That's what's trending. Brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending in Seattle?
There was a rumor going around that Elon Musk was interested in buying the Seattle Seahawks. It turns out that was nothing more than a rumor. We're in a position where we're waiting to see who viable buyers for the team will be. And we don't know. We know it's going to be someone who's very, very, very wealthy, right? Like that is something that isn't obvious. It's going to be someone who's very wealthy, who can afford the billions of dollars to purchase the team. And depending on what you read or where you're reading it, somewhere between $6 and $7 billion to purchase the Seahawks. That maybe has already been changed. But there were some names, I think people just speculated and it became rumors, like Jeff Bezos, who previously said, I think it was last week after the announcement of the sale, which, by the way, it had to have been sold according to the agreement from Paul Allen's estate. We knew that this was coming. This was not a shock. But Jeff Bezos said, yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. And then I don't know where it came from, but Elon Musk's name came out. And there was an account, kind of like a meme account on X called NFL Drop. And it said, a report, Elon Musk says he's interested in purchasing the Seahawks from the estate of Paul G. Allen. And they point out he's got a net worth of $850 billion. So, hey, if you sell the Seahawks from anywhere between 6, 7 to 10, maybe 11 billion, he's someone who can actually purchase it. And by the way, I would love it if Elon Musk purchased the Seahawks because, dear God, that would drive the left absolutely insane. It would drive everyone on the left insane. But the report was it's nothing more than a rumor. Now, I don't know if that is maybe some, misinformation intended to get Elon a better deal, or if it's true, he's just not interested in it. I want it to happen. But I was talking about this to a colleague of mine in the building, and he brought up the idea, kind of in jest, but I thought it would make for a fun, if not maddening, nightmarish thought exercise. He brought up the idea of the city of Seattle purchasing the Seattle Seahawks in a way structured similarly to the only other place where this is happening, which is Green Bay, where the city of Green Bay and really the taxpayers own the Packers. And that's been, as far as I can tell, I didn't do a ton of research into it, but it looks like that's been mostly successful. It certainly has created a bunch of people's to have more pride in the Packers. And we've got a lot of pride in the Seahawks in this region. It's a little odd to me that just the Seattle area, or the city of Seattle, I should say, would be a buyer. It would be different maybe if it was more regional, because this is a team that kind of belongs to the Pacific Northwest, but obviously all of Washington State. But I was thinking about whether or not this is a good idea. The supporters of public ownership, they point to Green Bay Packers as the goal. You too can have a community that owns, through a nonprofit structure, a team without a single billionaire calling the shots, with shares sold to fans. And so there's a community buy-in. The team couldn't be moved under those circumstances, or at least it'd be very, very, very difficult to get them to move. Not that the Seahawks are at a threat of moving, but hey, people probably said that about the Supersonics. And the Packers have been successful, right? Even taking a look at it outside of the structure of ownership, they've won multiple Super Bowls. They've remained competitive. They, despite being a really tiny market, I mean, Green Bay is not a huge market, but it punches far above its weight. So on paper, the idea kind of sounds appealing. You lock the Seattle Seahawks here forever. You never let it get away like we did with the Sonics, and you let the people own it to make sure that, there's buy-in beyond just Seahawks spirit. Now, however, let's turn to reality, because the more I thought about this, and it was weird because I for a half of a second, I was like, that's interesting, and then immediately yelled at my friend for even making this as a possibility. Because, of course, the Seattle city government should not own the Seahawks. Are you absolutely insane? Let's be clear. This is the same city government that can't keep downtown free of open-air drug markets. It can't enforce basic laws against public homeless encampments without tying itself into ideological knots. It can't coordinate traffic flow around Seahawks games. And we think that they'd be able to handle the Seahawks? We're talking about a city that struggles to fill potholes. The idea that it could competitively keep the team high tier, high ranking, the idea that it could competently manage a multi-billion-dollar sports franchise is, of course, absurd. To run an NFL team or an MLB team or any professional sports team requires discipline, long-term strategy, financial clarity. You have to make hard personnel decisions. You'd have to resist political pressure to the best of your ability. And obviously, there are teams, including the Seahawks, who haven't been great at that in the past. Imagine layering on top of all of that the Seattle City Council politics or the mayor's office politics. Leadership that changes every few years. Think about the normal trials and tribulations of a football franchise being run through the lens of people who can't keep the city in order. Would the council vote on contract extensions? Would they have a say in contract extensions? Would activists demand diversity quotas in draft picks? Would budget shortfalls trigger calls to cut scouting or the analytics department? If you think that sounds far-fetched, you've probably not been paying attention to how the city handles pretty much anything considered even remotely controversial. We have a really bad track record for Seattle. They chase headlines, the leadership here. They embrace symbolic gestures. They struggle with execution. Imagine what's labeled as the Seattle process on draft night. Basic things that they're supposed to do can sometimes take months to years. If the city owned the Seahawks, every loss would become a political fight. Every personnel decision would be litigated in public meetings. Every financial shortfall would become an excuse to dip into our pockets to spend more money. The reason why the Packers model works is because it's insulated from the day-to-day of municipal dysfunction. And again, I don't follow Green Bay politics at all. Like, I know literally nothing about the Green Bay city political scene. But they're a smaller entity than Seattle, which is perhaps why it works better in Green Bay. They're not trying to solve a fentanyl crisis while deciding whether to franchise, its left tackle. Seattle can't manage homelessness and drug addiction and public safety with competence. It can't keep sidewalks clean around Lumen Field. Handing it control of the Seahawks would not do anything to preserve a civic treasure. It would turn the Seahawks into another experiment in progressive governance. And we all know how those experiments usually end in the city of Seattle. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
Sticking with the sports theme, tonight for the State of the Union is going to be outstanding. It is going to be a moment that can unite the country. Even though on the surface, people may not even ever think about a State of the Union as truly being uniting, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in charge. But as we heard over the weekend and as was confirmed today, the U.S. men's hockey team will be attending the State of the Union tonight, which again will be carrying live right here on Seattle Red tonight at 6 p.m. And before the blue checkmark meltdown machine spins, they should maybe take a breath and think about what this represents. But they don't like it. I've seen some of the calls to cancel the U.S. men's team because they embraced Donald Trump, because they agreed to show up, because it appears at least they're implying that they're conservative or at least reasonable and sane. And for that, they should be canceled. Okay, no. So we heard today from Quinn and Jack Hughes, the brothers. They were on ABC News with the good news.
Quinn, Jack mentioned the celebration you had with the women's hockey team. They've said they're not going to be able to go to the State of the Union tonight. Will you guys be going?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but yes. And
I love that.
Yeah, we're excited to go. I mean, it's something.
By the way, I don't know what we can say, but yes, we're going. And of course, he made this announcement before it was, at least before I saw any of the coverage, but obviously this morning around 10 o'clock or so, 10:30, Fox News had coverage of them leaving for the airport to head to DC for the speech. And it was just cool. A lot of people showed up to show their pride. I love this.
You don't get to do, I don't know what today is, every Tuesday, but yeah, but it's gonna be stuff for us. But I'm glad you mentioned the women's team again. We're extremely happy for them. Obviously, a lot going on social media right now surrounding our team and their team. But in the last couple of summers, we did a lot of training with them and got to know a lot of those girls really well. Extremely happy to come and obviously.
It's so obviously a little bit difficult because they were connecting via, I guess, Zoom or something, but. It's funny because I think some people view this on the left as controversial. It's not controversial. They're not showing up as political surrogates or campaign props, right? Trump is not running for re-election. They're coming just days after winning a monumental gold medal against Canada in hockey. They're coming as Olympic champions representing the United States of America with actual pride. They actually seem to want to represent this country because they love this country. I saw a couple of the players, defensemen on Fox and Friends this morning, who made a point, part of the reason why he loves this country so much is he gets to travel a lot and he can compare what it is you can do in this country, what you can become in this country versus elsewhere. And there's no doubt that we are the greatest country in this world, on this planet. And he said that without, I paraphrase, but he took that position of greatness of this country without any hesitation, without any, I'm a little disturbed about the direction of our country because of this fascist president. I guess he left that to the snowboarders or whomever those Olympians were. But this is not controversial. We used to understand something basic, that sports can transcend politics. A lot of that changed institutionally in 2020. And this was more, obviously not about Olympics, but about the leagues, the NFL. We just talked about the Seahawks. I mean, I think they played a smaller role in leaning into the wokeness than a lot of other teams did. But it was the NFL, it was the MLS, it was NBA, not so much MLB, or at least nothing that's coming to mind. They kind of stayed out of it. They were wise to do that because the leagues that decided to lean into the crazy ended up suffering some consequences. But sports are supposed to transcend politics. The jerseys, especially in this case, they say USA. They don't say a team that's tied to one city. They're representing the entire United States, not as Republicans or Democrats, not as red states or blue states. The entire point of international competition is that when our athletes win, we all win, and we should all feel proud of that. And so when a championship level team shows up at the State of the Union, that's not an endorsement of a party. It's not an endorsement of the president. It is a celebration of national excellence. If this were any other president, the same people today clutching their pearls on Blue Sky and, as I found out, Threads, which is just a Facebook version or an Instagram version of Blue Sky. Boy, are they crazy every time I post there now. But what we learned today is that if it was Joe Biden or any other president, frankly, this would be called a beautiful symbol of unity. They'd be celebrating this. When championship teams visited the White House under the Biden administration or the Obama administration, oftentimes it was framed as like healing or inspirational or patriotic, or they wouldn't cover any controversy around it at all. It was just a championship team showing up. And that's the whole story. That's the whole story. No one asked whether attending any of those events meant that the players were signing up to back every single policy prescription coming from that administration or the parties in charge. But because it's Donald Trump here, suddenly the narrative shifts. All of a sudden, attendance equals complicity. Now showing up means you're making a political statement when I don't think they're intending to make a political statement. And maybe they are. I don't know. But that's not how I read it. That's not how I read it at all. And they certainly haven't said anything that would give off the impression that they're doing this because they're hardcore Trump supporters. This is MAGA country. I'd like to think that they believe that, but I have no idea. I don't even care. The statement here is really simple. They represent the United States. That's it. And here's why, because we can't not look at this through the optics of politics. Here's why I think it's a brilliant move, that the optics of this are great. President Trump understands spectacle. He understands the importance of imagery. This is a guy who understands visuals. And whether you love him or not, you can't deny the fact that he knows how to choreograph a moment. And that's what this is. I mean, look, State of the Union speeches, it's all theater. No matter where it's coming from, it is theater. That is the reality. And it's always been that way. The guest list matters. The visuals matter. The stories that you weave into the speech, they matter. Putting American athletes who compete under the flag front and center, that's not divisive. That's smart. That reframes the entire night around national pride instead of partisan political fights. And of course, with the theme of America at 250, this wonderfully plays into that. And I think that they should even open. I would bring out the U.S. national team or the U.S. hockey team immediately. I would do that within the first 5 minutes. Set the stage with that kind of unity. And you know there are going to be some Democrats in that chamber tonight who think the path to relevance, to winning in the midterms will be disruption, will be the eye rolls and the shouting and the walkouts or the protest signs, some sort of coordinated stunt designed to generate a viral clip for social media. The problem for them this time is the same as it was last time, but I would argue probably even more at risk or at stake for them. I think if they do that tonight, where the backdrop includes American Olympian champions who brought everyone together, who have sacrificed and trained and competed for this country, it makes their own theatrics look small and petty and out of touch, which is how I would describe Democrats right now. That's who they've become. If someone wants to stage some meltdown while a U.S. hockey team sits in the gallery, they're not protesting Trump. They're visually protesting this country, and that's a losing battle. That's what makes this moment so powerful. The president doesn't need to attack anyone. He doesn't need to spike the football, although I think most of us would be okay if he did that against Canada. All he has to do is point to this team and talk about teamwork, discipline, resilience, national pride. Those are values that resonate well beyond party lines. Hockey fans in Minnesota will support this the same as a military family in Texas. A union household in Pennsylvania will have the same positive reaction than a tech worker in Washington. You can dislike the president's tone, you can disagree with him on policies, but when American athletes who represent this country show up to the State of the Union, it's hard to argue against the symbolism of that. It's hard to not be excited about that. It's hard not to smile along with them. And the uncomfortable truth for Democrats is that voters are exhausted by performative outrage. It doesn't work anymore. They want strength. They want pride. They want policies that they agree with, but they don't want the performance. They want something that feels bigger than a talking point that was crafted by some strategist somewhere in D.C. And in this space, Donald Trump thrives. When he casts himself as the defender of national identity and sort of American cultural confidence, he is at his strongest. And bringing in a winning team, that reinforces that narrative without saying a word. And again, if you missed any of the footage from earlier, as they were headed for the airport, they were in the airport, the U.S. team, they were posing for photos with members of the military. There was one, I don't know who, because I saw it on the screen. It was a helicopter shot. But one of the players put around the necks of one of the troops his gold medal so that they can take a photo. That's what this is about. We are Americans first. And if the president plays this right tonight, he doesn't withstand Democrat antics. He makes them look small by comparison. And that's really good political choreography. And like it or not, folks on the left, Trump knows exactly how to stage the show, and maybe that's why they're going to work overtime to try to get in his way. The Sunset Auto family are loyal supporters of Seattle Red, and they want you to know that every qualifying new and used vehicle comes with oil changes for life. That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of a vehicle. You get like 5 a year. So when you're ready for your next car or truck, be sure to visit our friends at the Sunset Auto family in Auburn and Sumner, online at sunsetautofamily.com. When we come back, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I don't always get to talk about non-political interests of mine. But when the opportunity came to be able to do an interview with Dave Asprey, the founder of the biohacking movement, the reason why I've gotten so much healthier, I could not pass it up. So we're going to switch things up a little bit. And for those of you who are thinking about your health, your wellness, your kids' health and wellness, you do not want to miss this interview with Dave Asprey. We're going to get into that when we come back on The Jason Rantz Show.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Hey, Jason Rantz here for Legacy Group Capital, online at legacyg.com. The stock market surged last year, and now you're in a position where you either lost out on a whole bunch of potential income or you've got the gains that you need to protect. And dare I say, Legacy Group Capital can work for you regardless of which camp you find yourself in. $8 trillion in cash was sitting on the sidelines last year, and maybe that was you. Or you benefited from the AI and tech boom, but now you want to make sure you're protected. Legacy Group Capital, based in Bellevue, focuses on local real estate development, private lending, and sharing profits with investors. It's a way to diversify without chasing the next overheated trend. And you can invest in Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund. They're offering right now a fixed 9% rate of return. And yes, IRAs are accepted. More than 1,300 local investors have already invested over $350 million with Legacy Group Capital. Find out more online at legacyg.com, the letter G, legacyg.com, or give them a call, 425-635-4700, 425-635-4700.
Cold is leaking and rats are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes around the Sound for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. And with my luxurious marketing, you'll attract tons of buyers, sell fast at top dollar, and net more money. Because Upgrade Realty will save you thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Gold demand is skyrocketing to record highs. As more Americans rush to preserve their savings, will there be enough gold? I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and I believe physical gold is the only way to truly protect your 401k or IRA savings. Gold offers tangible security that can't be tracked, stolen, or inflated. That's why I strongly advocate for gold IRAs. To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 now. Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, and their thousands of great reviews prove I'm not alone. So don't wait another second. Protect your retirement savings today and see how easy it is to move your IRA or 401k into physical precious metals. Text SECURE to the number 989898 for your free gold IRA info kit. Again, SECURE to 989898.
Message and data rates may apply.
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
I have interviewed presidents. I have interviewed celebrities. I have never been more excited than to talk to my next guest, who has heavily influenced my life, certainly over the course of the last year, where I've lost about 75 pounds as not just a follower of Dave Asprey, but a member of Upgrade Labs in Bellevue. I use his supplements. I use his glasses. I am a big believer, and anyone who's listened to the show over the course of the last year knows that. He's the author of a number of best-selling books, including Heavily Meditated, Fast This Way, Superhuman. My favorite, Smarter, Work Smarter, Not Harder. He's the inventor of Danger Coffee. He's the creator of the Beyond Biohacking Conference, which, by the way, is happening May 27th through the 29th in Austin, Texas. Dave Asprey joins me now. Dave, thank you so much for coming on.
You are so welcome. Wow, what an intro. And 75 pounds. Congratulations. It feels so different, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's funny because we all know at some point where we need to make some sort of change. And I think ultimately people don't know where to start. But I mean, a lot of people probably did what you did 100 pounds ago, which was trying to eat what you thought was healthy. You were a vegan. You were working out in the gym pretty much every single day for a year, and you weren't seeing any results.
People didn't believe me. In fact, Diary of a CEO wouldn't publish the interview with me. because he's like, it's not possible that you're working out 20 minutes a week. I'm like, how do you want me to prove that? You want to ask my girlfriend, my assistant? Like, this is real. Because once you understand how the body works, you can lose the 75 pounds you lost. Like, that's why I started the biohacking movement. And I'm so excited that it worked for you. And, at this point, I have a lot of faith in it.
So when did you realize that you truly need to make that shift? Because obviously doing something for so long as a vegan who was working out daily, at some point it comes to realization that it's not actually working.
It was after a little bit more than a year of 6 days a week, 90 minutes a day. And I say without fail, I just made a commitment. Most important thing I can do. I'd already had 2 knee surgeries and I'm in my early 20s. I'm like, I got to do something. So I did that. And I was just eating so little food. I was just constantly hungry. And every time I get a hunger pang, I'd be like, that's the weight falling off. And I was at a Carl's Jr. And I'm looking at my friends eating double Western bacon cheeseburgers. I'm having the chicken salad with no chicken and no dressing because of calories. And I thought, wait, I work out more than all my friends combined. I need less than the smallest woman here. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or maybe this just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And it was then that I just made that commitment to myself. I'm only going to do things that actually work. Whether I believe they work is irrelevant. I'm going to use the things I've learned as a computer hacker. Let's measure. And if the numbers start moving, then it's working. If you believe it works and you just keep doing it, that's the definition of insanity.
So if someone's out there right now who's listening or watching and they're saying to themselves, look, I need to do something. I don't feel well. I'm looking at the scale. It's not going in the direction I want. Where does one actually begin?
Well, knowing where you are and knowing what you want is the most important thing. And most of us say, I want to be healthy. What does that even mean? It turns out there's 7 or 8 different types of health. Did you want your energy back? Did you want to manage your stress better? You want your brain back? You want your sleep back? Do you want VO2 max? They're totally different. So people come to Upgrade Labs or they use axo.health, which is our AI app, to help clarify goals. And you pick a top goal. And then you say, what are all the things I can do and that I'm willing to do with my energy and my time and my money in order to move the needle in that direction? And you do just that one thing. And then you get some results. And then maybe you back off a little bit because you got the results and you see if it holds. But most importantly, whatever that one thing is, it's going to give you more energy and more time and more wellness. And that's the return on investment that you can then reinvest in the next thing on your to-do list.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, people talk a lot about just diet and exercise in a more traditional sense. But I think for a lot of people, I'm guessing sleep is probably what's broken that can be relatively easily fixed if you follow certain rules.
Sleep is one of those things where I was the worst sleeper ever. And I would get 5 minutes of deep sleep. I go to bed at 2 a.m. no matter what. I couldn't fall asleep before then. And I was constantly tired. And it took a long time to learn how to sleep. So, and this is totally free. And the best URL of my career, sleepwithdave.com. And that's right. Here's all the stuff that works. And it turns out, if you're having a hard time sleeping, if you're drinking coffee at night, okay, that's probably, what that is. But it's usually, we just have bright light at night. And your body is exquisitely sensitive to the brightness and color of light at nighttime. Because throughout all of history, the brightest light at night was either a full moon or a campfire. And now you go into your bathroom and you brush your teeth, and it is brighter than it's ever been. And the cells in your body that are desperately trying to figure out, should I be waking this guy up or putting him to sleep? They decide it's time to wake up. But the other parts of your body are saying, I think it's time to sleep. And this is why we're seeing an increase in metabolic dysfunction and even things like cancer and diabetes. It's because we broke our bodies because we don't have darkness anymore. So sunshine and darkness fix sleep. And that's one of the easiest things to do. Buy a dimmer switch. You can do it.
And that's one of the things, your company, True Dark, I did not bring my nighttime ones. I've got my daytime ones here. But, everyone's a little bit different. You wear these glasses at night, cuts out the brightest of bright lights. Is basically just like almost like a red light filter. For me, if I'm having them on for like 5 minutes, I automatically start to feel tired. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but how does that mechanism actually work?
Wow. Well, I created the first company to make those sleep glasses called True Dark. And since then, we published a medical study in a journal that shows how it works. And the way it works is we're not just putting a red filter on there. It's actually a stacked layer of filters that block narrow bands of light that we know directly stimulate cells in the eye called melanopsin. And for instance, we say, oh, blue light's bad. Well, blue light wakes you up during the day. You shouldn't block all blue during the day. That's why the glasses, you got the True Darks there. They let some blue in so you wake up. At nighttime, you got to block blue, amber, white light, green light, and another couple of colors. So I just found all the things that ruin your timing system, and you take them out. So in that study, we found that 15 minutes of wearing the True Dark glasses designed for sleep shift your brainwaves the same way that meditation does.
Oh, wow.
They're like noise-canceling headphones for your eyes. And yeah, True Dark's been around for more than 10 years, and it's kind of funny when you see some of the newer biohackers on the scene go, oh my gosh, look what happens when you wear these True Dark glasses. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be that way. Because biohacking is just change the environment around you and inside you so you have control of your state. Light, clean air, clean water, and clean food are fundamental to everything.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the importance of light. I know generally the advice is get into sunlight when you get up. But as you know, as someone who used to live in the Pacific Northwest, certainly around this time of year, we don't really get it all that bright when, at least I'm up around 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., it's still pitch black outside. So what are some of the tools that people can use to actually use some of these tips, and what does sunlight first thing in the morning actually do?
Sunlight first thing in the morning wakes up your mitochondria via something called POMC. And this is a sort of like pre-warming up the engine in your car when it's cold. And when you get that light signal that includes ultraviolet light as well as red light, and if you think about it, sunrise, red light, sunset, red light, our bodies are counting on that to tell it what time it is. So if you're in the darkness, and I lived on Vancouver Island for 13 years, and my headquarters for several of my companies has been in Seattle for a long time. So when I'm up there, what do? Turn on as bright of light as you can in your house. It's going to help. But better yet, get a morning sun lamp. And you can put it on your table. And bonus points if you find one that actually has ultraviolet B light in it, UVB. Say, oh no, it's bad for you. But a small amount of UVB wakes up the cells, and it's associated with improvements in vision. So you don't need glasses when you get some UVB. You'll get sunburned. I'm just saying ultraviolet's not bad for you. It's not good for you. The dose makes the poison.
So you used to be based in Seattle, your headquarters. What's the backstory? Did we scare you off? Because now you're in Texas, where I'll note taxes considerably lower than right here in Washington. Because you used to have at least one of the distribution, I think, for Subgrade was based in Kent.
Yeah, I had a warehouse in Kent for a long time, and 40 years as in my neuroscience 5-day brain upgrade program was up in Kenmore. And back when I was at Bulletproof, and Danger Coffee is my new coffee company. I have nothing to do with Bulletproof. The products there are not ones that I've anything to do with. So, and we were down there, I think, on 2nd Street, not far from Pike's Place Market. So what happened is I wanted to leave Canada because largely of the darkness, and I just wanted somewhere sunny with good community in the middle of the country, because I'm on the road 75% of the time these days. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to big audiences and just doing business. And I moved 40 years of Zen here because I wanted to be able to be present for it so I could meet with our clients.
There you go. So no controversy behind abandoning us in the Pacific Northwest.
I will say that the part of town where my headquarters was when I was at Bulletproof has changed a lot. I used to go for walks at night. I wouldn't do that right now. So I'm really hoping that that Seattle, which is a beautiful city, that it experiences a re-vibrancy, but they may have to be a little bit friendlier to businesses, but that's not why I left.
Yeah, just a smidgen friendlier. The millionaire tax might, we won't get into.
Yeah.
I imagine I know where you stand on that. What was kind of curious about this movement, Maha in particular, conservatives, I think, have been institutionally curious as to whether or not they should be trusting, quote unquote, the science. And obviously COVID, and you experienced this personally when talking about the vaccine, really pushed people away from trusting the quote unquote science and the establishment. Do you think if we were to get rid of the FDA today, would Americans be healthier?
this is really hard. So Bobby Kennedy is fixing the FDA. And I interviewed the head of the FDA, Dr. Marty Makary, in front of 500 people. And my first question was, what big pharma company are you going to go to work for when you're done here?
Yeah.
And the audience was like, oh. And he just laughed. He said, I'm a surgeon and I'm an author. I've never worked for big pharma, and I took an oath that I never will. And I have never been more heartened by that conversation, where he says, we were wrong about hormone replacement for women, which is something I've been saying for 20 years, and for men. They just announced, oh yeah, testosterone is actually good for men, like we've been saying for 20 years. So I feel like there's genuine goodness at the top, but it's going to take a while to percolate down. And I think that there's some pretty much organized crime activity coming out of big pharma that has influenced the FDA in the past. The big challenge is, will the FDA, will the leadership be able to fix the org and root out the bad actors, or would it be better to just hit flush? Yeah. Before Bobby came in, I would have been on the flush side. Now I'm really curious. Let's see. They're fast tracking the longevity stuff. That's a big part of my work. They're much more peptide friendly than they have before, but I still see the invisible hand of big pharma in a way that I don't like. And some of the things around no liability for vaccines, it's ridiculous. And the strides in holding companies accountable for the evil they do, that is starting to happen. One of the problems, the USDA controls 20% of food and the FDA controls the other 80%. So you can have one department saying one thing and another saying another. But I know the guy who made the new food pyramid for the FDA, Kyle Diamantis. And we talked, and he tried the Bulletproof Diet more than 10 years ago and said, totally rocked my world. I can't believe that. So this consistently in the biohacking movement and the longevity movement saying, here's what works. Don't believe me, try it on yourself. Well, you do that for a decade and you have hundreds of thousands or even millions of people who are fundamentally, their brains work better, their bodies work better. We're not going back. You cannot make us go back to feeling like crap.
You are listening to the Jason Rantz Show, part one of my conversation with Dave Asprey, the father of biohacking. And again, if you're familiar with biohacking, you know who Dave Asprey is. If you're not, just know that he basically invented a multi-billion-dollar industry and got a whole lot of people, including myself, much healthier. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back. The video, by the way, is available at seattlered.com. This is the Jason Rantz Show.
Well, folks, a golden sunrise is dawning over America. Trump is back, ushering in a time of American prosperity, peace, and achievement. And with the economy ready to boom, it's a great time to get a piece of the golden era for yourself. Hi, I'm Brian from Northgate Rare Coins. Whether you're looking to sell your old coins, jewelry, paper money, or precious metals for some quick cash, or you want to make a smart investment for the future, Northgate Rare Coins has you covered. My brother Brennan and I draw from decades of experience to ensure our customers get honest, upfront appraisals and great values every day. We don't have fancy showrooms or high-pressure sales pitches, which means we can usually offer our customers the best deals around, and our appraisals are always free. Celebrate a great new day in America and at Northgate Rare Coins.
Invest in your golden era today at Northgate Rare Coins. See them online at northgaterarecoinscs.com or in Linwood, see the coin market off 164th Street.
Jason Rantz here. Power issues aren't merely inconvenient. They can be really dangerous, which is why homeowners across the region trust CM Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing and Electrical for professional electrical services, including generator installation, wiring and rewiring, plus panel upgrades. They've got over 40 years of experience serving Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties. CM Heating delivers award-winning service backed by thousands of five-star online reviews. Whether you're upgrading your electrical panel or you're preparing your home with a generator, CM's licensed electricians are available 24/7, and they offer fast emergency response. Look, there's no beating CM Heating. Schedule your electrical service today at cmheating.com, cmheating.com, or call 425-259-0550. Write this number down, 425-259-0550. Contractor license CMHEAHL 751LW. Electrical license CMHEAHL 754L3. cmheating.com.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like Sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Part 2 of my conversation with the father of biohacking, Dave Asprey, continues. Thinking about this and just the supplements that I'm on, I think I'm on a total of 25 different supplements. They include Minerals 101 and Vitamin Dake. But it is to a point where I don't know which ones are necessarily still necessary for me. There you go. I mean, you've got a ton of supplements that you take. And by the way, as you've pointed out many times, people have offered you lots of money to explain literally every single one that you're on. But the reason why you don't tell everyone that is because what works for you might not work for me outside of just the basic foundational. But how do people truly know whether or not a supplement is working for them when, in some cases, because they're so foundational, you might not feel anything especially radically change within you?
For the ones that you're not going to feel, and like I make a Vitamin Dake, it's vitamindake.com, and Minerals 101. These are the most boring supplements that have the broadest spectrum activity across the body. Everybody needs those. So I would make more money if I put caffeine in those and said, you'll feel the difference, but that's just not how I roll. So how do you know if it's working? Blood tests. And if you don't want to do that, you just have to say, well, are you going to get all of the nutrients you need from your food? And you're not. And here's why. Our soil is depleted, but if you were a caveman and you lived in a cave with only natural toxins, maybe it would be possible. You are exposed to a level of toxins that no human on Earth has ever been exposed to until the last 30 years. So your body requires more nutrients and more support to thrive in today's environment than it used to. And this is why those foundational things, you should take those because the preponderance of evidence says to. And if you get a blood test, it's going to say, oh, look, you are low in zinc. Like, so is almost everyone, or low in magnesium until you get the lab work done. But lab work's expensive. And that's been a problem. I hate getting a permission slip and then going into the mean people at the blood draw facilities behind the bulletproof glass. I'm like, what am I, at the DMV? So you can go to axo.health, and we'll send someone to your house. And it's very affordable to do that. So you can get all your lab work. It's in an app. So we've kind of liberated testing from being expensive and needing a permission slip. But there's a lot of room to grow in that space. But let's face it, you're busy, you have a budget. Maybe you should just do the things that are foundational for everyone. Mm-hmm. Do that first. And maybe you just get a sleep tracker first and see what happens.
You've obviously been doing this for a lot. You've done a lot of self-experimentation, and I know it takes probably a very long time before you even publicly say, hey, this is what I recommend and why more generally. What is something you've changed your mind on that you originally thought was this is the future of longevity, but then more data comes out and you're saying, okay, maybe we should rethink this?
Well, I'm going to say plants. And when I wrote my first big book, New York Times bestseller called The Bulletproof Diet, I pointed out lectins and oxalates and histamine and seed oils and mold toxins as major problems in food. I was underestimating the importance of something called oxalate. So I used to be a huge proponent of sweet potatoes and almonds and raspberries. And since that time, I learned by studying actually very old science, most of it before 1950, and by experimenting, we have a problem in that a lot of the superfoods we eat every single day, we would only get for 1 week in summer. And so a lot of people are getting kidney stones. 70% of kidney stones come from eating too many plants. And I've worked with so many clients, especially my concierge longevity practice, which is called unlimited.life. They're eating too many plants and it's wrecking their gut, it's wrecking their skin. And it's not that all plants are bad, it's that not all plants are the same. So eat more plants is the dumbest advice ever. The real advice is eat your steak first and then eat some plants that don't cause inflammation for you and have some rice or some fruit if you want, and you'll feel way better. Or hell, have ice cream if you're not allergic to milk. Yeah. It's better than spinach and kale and choking down sticks and rocks. I can't believe I was vegan. What a mistake.
How much does it weigh on your conscience of in that world? Like, if you told me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm in that camp who would immediately do X, Y, and Z. But we also know, and I know in the back of my mind, you could be wrong, right? We could get new data that says maybe we shouldn't do this. So how much does that weigh on you as you're coming up with what you're willing to tell people to do? Because as I said, I imagine there's a ton of things you're doing right now that no one has any idea about.
Yeah, it is something that I'm aware of. And even my podcast, I've had about 600 million listen hours on that, which is maybe 200 human lifetimes. So if I'm giving bad advice or just wasting people's time, it makes me a mass murderer. There's a very high burden of responsibility in order to share information with people. So it's not just me believing this stuff. It's that I have been interviewing leaders in the field of longevity since my mid-20s. So this is like 25 years in this field, and I work with them all the time, and we see clients. And if I'm seeing it and I test it out with the top doctors, I'm saying, is this reasonable? Does this make sense? Do you see this in patients? What's going on here is we're following the science. And one of the biggest forms of evidence in science is called clinical evidence. Does it work on the street with patients? And you have these mafia-connected big drug companies, and they're saying the only form of evidence is a $100 million double-blind placebo-controlled Peter Attia trial that's also probably backed by Epstein. And that is not how it works, right? That is a form of evidence, and most of those trials can't even be reproduced. So if I see it, I test it, and then the network of longevity docs I work with sees it, you know what? I feel better about that than allowing a commercial for cereal for kids.
So in the 2 minutes or so we have left, I want to just do rapid fire, just your quick reactions. Let's start with creatine, which everyone's now talking about. I have a scoop of it in my Danger coffee every single morning. Why should we be taking it, and how much should we be taking?
Creatine helps your body make more ATP. You should be doing probably 10 to 15 grams a day. Women need a little bit more than men, believe it or not, but that's per pound of body weight. So yeah, about 10 grams-ish, and you'll feel it in your head. Put it in your Danger coffee or in any hot liquid, and you'll get 4 times more into your brain than if you put it in cold water.
Microplastics, are we going overboard in how dangerous they are?
Microplastics are probably more dangerous than we're saying they are because they get incorporated into your cells. We should start incinerating our plastic if we can't recycle it.
Sunscreen, should we actually be wearing that given the importance of sunlight?
The only time you should ever wear sunscreen is if you're going to be in the sun for many hours and it's mineral-based. Otherwise, sunscreen provably causes cancer. Your skin needs sunlight.
Coke Zero. It's the one thing I still actually consume that is not clean or according to your advice. How bad is it? What is it doing to me?
Aspartame, which is the type of sweetener in Coke Zero, is addictive in and of itself. It turns into formaldehyde in the body, and it's an excitatory neurotoxin. The reason you keep drinking it is because you're addicted. So go cold turkey and get addicted to something that might have benefits like nicotine. Don't smoke, but a little bit of nicotine is actually anti-Alzheimer's, and it turns out that the sweetener in Coke Zero is pro-Alzheimer's.
Final question then. For someone who's starting out today, from a scale of what can they do today that's free versus if they have a budget, what should they be doing to make the most impact?
If you wanted to make the most impact, you would make sure that your bedroom was pitch black tonight. It is that easy to do. And if you wanted to double down, you could skip breakfast. There, now you did intermittent fasting.
What if they don't have to worry about their budget? What would they do?
If you don't have to worry about your budget, I would buy whatever it takes to improve your sleep quality. You may need a mattress cooler. You may need blackout curtains. You want some red lights in your bedroom. And just go to sleepwithdave.com and I'll tell you everything. And it's free. It's what you need to do.
Well, you've got a big event that's coming up in Austin, May 27th through the 29th. I think you're doing a $700 off coupon right now for folks who go to daveasprey.com. Make sure you check out Danger Coffee, which is legitimately the only coffee that I drink at this point. I'm taking it with me when I'm traveling. I am a believer that this has been awesome to spend some time with you. We could do this for many hours, but I'll let you go, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Congratulations on your weight loss, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. You are listening to The Jason Rantz Show. Back after this.
Spring is right around the corner, but the perfect time to start your outdoor project is right now. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years. They design, build, and maintain stunning outdoor spaces, from full makeovers to weekly maintenance. Beat the spring rush and get your yard project started today. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
For over 50 years, Bucky's Complete Auto Repair has been the one locals trust for fast, friendly service with guaranteed repairs. With 16 family-owned locations and a Carfax preferred badge, Bucky's makes it easy with same-day service and available financing. Visit buckys.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Right now, save $16 on a pair of Rain-X Rugged XL wiper blades, plus get 2 times O Rewards points only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Seattle Red, your favorite conservative talk radio station.
America is back.
Your favorite conservative host.
In Seattle, you're not allowed to do that.
On a bigger platform. We are Seattle Red. On 770, the Seattle Red app, and SeattleRed.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
He will lay out his plan. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump set to deliver his first State of the Union address of his second term in about 2 hours.
Speaking to a joint session of Congress, President Trump will demand Democrats reopen the Department of Homeland Security.
It's despicable that they have shut down this agency that is responsible not just for the deportations of murderers and criminals whom none of you, including Democrat politicians, would want living in your communities.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that shutdown is also impacting FEMA, the Coast Guard, and the TSA.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the president's view of how the country is doing is vastly different from that of the American public.
America is deeply unhappy with Trump's leadership. And he'll blame everyone else for our country's troubles. He'll blame Biden. He'll blame the Supreme Court. He'll point the finger at everyone but himself.
At least 70 Democrats have said that they will not attend tonight's speech, with many attending protests instead. Listen to our live coverage of President Trump's State of the Union tonight, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern at foxnewsradio.com. Americans in Mexico trying to find ways to return home after the killing of Mexico's top cartel leader in the tourist area of Puerto Vallarta.
A lot of people have been trying for 2 days to get out because of the violence here, including one man who got caught in a gunfight while he was trying to play a simple round of golf. A lot of the senior tourists we talked to said they got dropped off by vans from their hotel at an event, like a monument or a museum, and then the cartel members seized the vans, lit them on fire. So you had a lot of elderly tourists really stuck until the middle of the night, hoping for a police escort back to their hotels. A lot of people here been through a lot, eager to get home.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Puerto Vallarta. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday. Let's do this Monday. ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Folks! The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red, 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app on the State of the Union night. Don't forget, 6 p.m., we turn to live coverage from D.C. as the president speaks to the nation from the Capitol, from the House chambers. For the State of the Union, we will not only carry it live, we'll also have a live reaction, live analysis with some special guests from Fox News. We get into that and so much more later on in the show. But first, I promised you last week I would turn that adorable Japanese monkey named Punch into a metaphor for how Democrats mistreat Washington voters. And that's exactly what I'll do, because it's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
What's trending on social media?
There is a young and adorable Japanese monkey named Punchkin, lovingly referred to simply as Punch, who has become an unexpected internet celebrity after a video showed him being dragged across his zoo enclosure by another monkey. He has been rejected by his mama monkey and all the monkeys around him. For the longest time, they were mistreating him. They were being mean. Now, the good news, the update, is that he has been celebrated by some in his little monkey community, to the point where I saw one story yesterday, Monday, where they're like, he now has a bodyguard, an elder monkey that's taking him under his wing. And it's like, it's adorable. But before we got to that point, the reason why Punch had gone viral wasn't necessarily merely because he was rejected by his mom. And this, by the way, is the most adorable monkey you will ever see. It's because he was given by the zoo handlers a stuffed orange IKEA orangutan, and he had been clinging to that toy for the longest time. It became his mom. It became his bestie. And it was adorable. But that's how this adorable viral monkey became this viral sensation. And I was thinking, we sort of hinted at this on Friday. I was thinking about this particular adorable monkey and how everyone is just completely enamored with him. But it got me, because this is how I think, to view it through the lens of politics. And the way Democrats in Washington have used the income tax is very similar to the way a lot of us looked at this adorable little monkey. Democrats insist that an income tax of 9.9% on high earners, at least for now, is about fairness and it's about shared responsibility. And they frame it as asking the wealthy basically to chip in during, difficult times. But that's not what this looks like. It's why so many Washingtonians are so disturbed at the Democrats' attempt to spin their unconstitutional income tax. And in a lot of ways, we recoil at that the same way we recoiled at the sight of poor little Punch being dragged around by some of the elder monkeys in his little encampment. It looks like a state government that refuses to control spending, declaring one emergency after another, climate, housing, behavioral health, you name it, and then responding the same way every single time. Grab another wallet and drag it into the center of the enclosure, just like they did to that poor little monkey Punch. The problem isn't revenue in Olympia. The same way the problem for Punch wasn't a lack of other monkeys around to take care of him. Washington is already one of the highest tax states in the entire country when you look at sales, gas, property, business taxes. The problem is discipline. Lawmakers, and really it's just Democrats at this point. Democrats grow government faster than taxpayers can fund it. Then they act shocked when the numbers start working. Punch didn't have a choice about being dragged. But you know who does have a choice about being dragged? You and me. We have a choice. We have a choice. And some people have signed on to the con in record numbers for this bill. Others haven't yet. You have the choice to spend 10 seconds to sign on to this and reject an income tax more publicly. You have a choice. You have a choice in November to elect better people. You have a choice before November to start backing the right kinds of candidates. Again, whether we're talking at the state level or the hyper-local level, like a city council race or a county council race or a member of Congress, we all have choices. And too many of us choose to do nothing when Punch gets dragged around its encampment or its enclosure, like you choose to do nothing when we get taken advantage of by Washington Democrats. We have a choice to push back politically. So will you take that? Will you take that opportunity to make that choice to finally push back and say enough is enough? Will you take this as an opportunity to say you used a really bad metaphor because you thought it was going to get you some clicks on SeattleRed.com and leave Punch Monkey alone? Maybe. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Technology.
One thing you probably don't ever want to hear, even if you're sympathetic to the issue, is that any piece of legislation regulating AI is being fast-tracked, is moving quickly in Olympia. That should terrify you. That should absolutely terrify you. And while I hope that their intentions are good, I don't care because these are people who don't understand how technology works. Not even just AI, but technology in general. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle usually have no idea. They're clueless on this. And yet, as Como points out, there is an AI chatbot and how it interacts with minors bill that is rapidly moving through the legislature. And it's going to try to regulate these chatbots. State Representative Lisa Callan, a Democrat from Issaquah, she told Como that this is going to save lives.
We're going to save lives. We're going to reduce harm before it even starts and give our children a better chance to thrive. We've heard more stories about children being sexually abused by chatbots, children taught to self-harm, children taught how they could kill themselves.
Now, I don't disagree that there's a problem when it comes to AI and kids, right? I literally don't have a problem with pointing that out and even trying to regulate it to a degree. I just don't know if I trust anyone to rush to do it. Because when you're rushing to regulate something you don't even understand, you're not thinking of the unintended consequences. And frankly, you're not even going to truly address whatever the problem happens to be. Now, in this case, on the surface, it seems like it's pretty simple what the bill is trying to do, which is basically ensure that someone chatting with an AI bot knows that they're not talking to a human. Under this bill, Como says a user of an AI chatbot must be notified that they're interacting with AI and not a human at the beginning of the chat and thereafter at least every 3 hours. If the chatbot operator knows the user is a minor, the notification must be provided at least once every hour. And again, they think this is a good idea, and perhaps it is. It has bipartisan support. Stephanie Barnard, the Republican from Pasco, state representative, friend of the show, supported the bill.
These are terrifying instances that we have to make sure don't happen again. That this is something that we need to act on to protect our children.
To protect the children is a line that I understand and agree with, but also note that it is sometimes abused or at least used to justify some things that don't really make a whole lot of sense. They say under the bill, the chatbot operator, and that's anything from ChatGPT to all the other ones, must use reasonable measures to prevent the AI chatbot from producing sexually explicit content, preventing it from mimicking a romantic relationship, or encouraging minors to withhold information from adults, which is rather ironic because Democrats promote minors withholding information from adults. Joshua Penner, the mayor of Orting, the state representative from Orting, says he's got some concerns about the unintended consequences from this bill.
It incentivizes businesses to be absolutely certain when they're engaging with these, with users of the content. It requires companies to know a lot about those minors and to build a profile on their intents, on their psychology, on their sexuality, on their gender, on their engagement with the platform.
So it already passed the House. Now there are some, people saying maybe we're going a little bit too fast before the Senate moves forward with this and then ultimately gets signed by the governor. Perhaps we should be rethinking this. And I think that that's the smarter move. You can move with urgency without rushing things. And I simply do not trust either party, whether at the hyper-local level in Olympia or the national level in D.C., to regulate AI, because I don't think that they understand it yet. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The economy.
Speaking of AI, there's a report from our sister website, mynorthwest.com, about a new study that shows about 73,000 jobs in this general region of Western Washington are being considered by the Brookings Institution as highly vulnerable to AI. This is according to the research from the National Bureau of Economic Research done with Brookings. It looked at which jobs are most likely to be disrupted by AI and where workers would have the hardest time finding something comparable. And it is not shocking, obviously, that the Seattle region is on that list, given the fact that, hey, we've got a huge tech sector here. And that means there are a lot of jobs that are on the line because we know that AI is already taking tech sector jobs. Now, perhaps that only happens in the short term. Maybe the long term, it will be okay because at the end, number one, someone still needs to create the AI and perfect the AI. But number two, it could potentially lead to newer jobs that we didn't even know existed within the world of tech. But obviously, in the short term, there's a problem. We've already seen Amazon and Microsoft, Meta, Google, they're already laying people off because of, at least in part, AI. And they say in this study about 3.1% of jobs fall into the category where it's going to be tough going for some folks here. 3.1% of the jobs, which is a slight improvement over the national average, around 3.9%, I guess. They say some cities with a higher vulnerability are the places, again, at least one of them, maybe two you expect. San Francisco's number one. Portland, number two, I kind of get that one. The one I don't know all that much about is Albuquerque. And I think maybe that has to do with energy sector jobs that could, be impacted by AI. They're at 5.2%. But we do say that Seattle specifically ranks the least vulnerable locations to AI job security in the state of Washington. And again, I think that's just because of the amount of tech jobs here and the possibility of being able to move your job function to a different role within the tech industry. They say one of the roles most affected, secretaries, administrative assistants, receptionists, and information clerks. They have been disrupted by AI, and this is more globally now, at a 75% rate. And that makes sense too. And you probably have experienced that when you're calling in to, tech help for Comcast or something, or maybe your doctor's office, your dentist's office. You'll get an automated AI system. Even chatting now at this point, we tried, because we use a service to edit some of our videos, and it's been down lately. So I chatted with them, and a guy named Ollie spoke, except it wasn't Ollie, a human being. It was Ollie, clearly an AI robot that was answering questions that otherwise would have been answered by real people. They also point out translators, tax examiners, and collectors, plus insurance sales representatives have also been greatly affected. Now, the translation, if it's written, I'm a little bit more trusting of AI, but it's hard when we're talking about detecting tone. I would never, ever, ever let AI handle tax examinations or deal with collection agencies via AI. I mean, number one, we recommend our sponsor, Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. But the reason why is because he's a human being who understands not just the intricacies of this. He can use AI tools for some of his stuff, but I don't want a computer that's going to be figuring out ways to kind of screw me to go up against another computer, because then who is on your side? You want a human being there. Insurance sales representatives, I don't know. Again, you might not know the types of questions to have to answer when it's AI. It might be too rigid versus like a human being who might know, because of the stories you're telling about what it is you're doing, what services are better for you. I see promise for AI, no doubt, and I use a lot of AI, but I don't think it should be seen as completely getting rid of certain kinds of roles from human beings. Some absolutely, others not so much. I like the idea of making AI work for us so that we can more efficiently use our time. The way I use AI a lot has to do with research, with looking over documents and data, and not just tell me what it is, but tell me how they got to it. Like, what's this bill about? Why do you say that? And then going into the bill and actually read it. That's how I use it. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to tell me how you use AI. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Legal.
There was a lawsuit that was announced out of New Hampshire that actually caught my attention, and it tells us how far we've come from the woke madness of kind of like 2020 through 2023, 2024. It was about 24 where things started to course correct slowly. 25, it seems like it accelerated. And in large part, that is what you can credit for at least people giving more of an opportunity to Donald Trump during his campaign to earn their vote. They saw the progressive madness go so far, and they said, enough is enough. I like this guy who's talking back against all of it. So the story for the Washington Post is how the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, which is a federal civil rights agency, they're now suing Coca-Cola, alleging that they excluded male employees from a casino work trip that was framed as a reward or a professional opportunity that was only given to women. And that's the core issue here. This was another one of the corporate entities saying, we're going to lean into identity-centered workforces. We're going to celebrate certain identities. We're going to give opportunities exclusively to certain identities. And now they've landed themselves in the middle of a court case. Now, this was a company-sponsored trip. It was tied to work. And the allegation from the EEOC is that it limited participation based on sex. Men weren't allowed to go at all, which the EEOC says this is a violation of the Civil Rights Act. You cannot discriminate on the basis of sex. Now, Title VII doesn't allow discrimination against men any more than it allows discrimination against women. This law is supposed to be sex neutral. It has not been seen by a lot or used by a lot of folks as sex neutral. And in fairness, I get why that is seen that way, or at least was traditionally seen that way, because there was sexism that was harming disproportionately women over men in the workforce. That has since changed dramatically. And going in the opposite direction of simply saying, well, because you discriminate against women, now let's discriminate against men. Or now because you discriminated against black people or Latinos, we're going to discriminate against whites and Jews. I think that's equally wrong. We shouldn't do that. And if you as an employer exclude employees from work benefits or networking opportunities, bonuses, advancement, travel, whatever it is, based solely on gender, that's a problem under federal law that no matter what the history suggests to yourself to justify that kind of behavior, it's still wrong. Now, this lawsuit alleges that a distributor, which supplies Coke products, organized or sponsored some sort of casino trip as part of a workplace initiative. But they said only females can attend. And according to the EEOC, male employees were effectively told that they couldn't participate because they weren't women, which is weird because in 2020 to 2024 and 2025, we were told that men can actually be women. And that's where this becomes less about Coca-Cola than it does about a broader corporate trend. I don't particularly care about Coca-Cola in this case. For years, companies have created women-only leadership retreats, diversity networking events, gender-specific professional development trips. The list goes on. And they talk a little bit about it in this Washington Post article. But the stated goal, they say, is to empower underrepresented groups. And in some contexts, those efforts can be done legally. I mean, if they're open to all, but maybe you're targeting in your outreach, or if you don't actually exclude others from, material benefits, but again, your intent is to help you can structurally get around that legally. But if the event is tied to compensation or advancement, perks, something tangible as a job benefit, that you're exclusively barring someone on the basis of sex, you're stepping into very difficult legal terrain. Now, I know some people want to argue that programs aimed at boosting women in male-dominated industries are absolutely necessary. Okay, you can make that argument, but others are going to argue that equality means equal treatment, full stop. And from a legal standpoint, the framework is really clear that employers can't grant or deny workplace benefits based on protected characteristics. This is not difficult to understand. This lawsuit isn't going to rewrite civil rights law. It just is going to reinforce it. And for anyone asking whether anti-discrimination statutes apply equally in all directions, the answer is, at least according to the EEOC filing, is yeah, it does. And the broader takeaway from this story, I think this lawsuit at least, is pretty simple. Folks like this distributor who are alleged to have done something wrong, oftentimes they say their intentions are good. Okay, even if I were to believe that, let's say I do, I don't know. Good intentions don't override statutory obligations. If a workplace opportunity exists, you have to structure it in a way that doesn't shut the door because of someone's sex. That is not a culture war talking point from the conservatives. That is longstanding federal law. But apparently in 2026, some companies still need that kind of reminder. Although in fairness, this did happen, I think, allegedly in 2025. So maybe they just didn't get the memo, but they got the memo now. 1-800-465-8770. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. This hour brought to you by the Northwest Safe Company, online at nwsafe.com. When we come back, it's time for the Big Local.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3, right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Hey, how's your money situation? Are you ready for retirement? Well, if you want to know what the pros are doing to make wealth multiply and retire like royalty, then you need to listen to this show, The Money Professor, with Chris Longworth. Get your money right and tune in every weekend, Saturdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 12 noon on Seattle Red.
When your heat goes out, when your AC stops working, you don't have time to wait. Jason Rantz here for CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. They're online at cmheating.com. They've got award-winning technicians who can fix any heating or cooling breakdown, and they can do it fast. They've been doing it for over 40 years across Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties, and they can do this for you. For a limited time, get a $0 service call fee when you choose CM Heating for your heating or cooling repair. $0 service call fee. CM Heating offers 24/7 availability, fast emergency response, and they do it with thousands of views from homeowners across the region to back this all up. From quick fixes to the major repairs, there's no beating CM Heating. Book your next heating or cooling repair at cmheating.com or give them a call at 425-259-0550. 425-259-0550. Contractor license CMHEAHL 751LW. cmheating.com. Tell them Jason Rantz sent you.
If you need security for your event or business, contact Security Services Northwest. From armed and unarmed officers to advanced remote monitoring, they've been doing it all since 1977. Go to ssnwhq.com for Security Services Northwest.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Put my luxurious marketing to work for you and save thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. Visit upgraderealty.com. Upgraderealty.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side, your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, during our President's Day sale, take 50% off our limited edition bed, plus an extra $100 off all mattresses. And Saturday. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Check out the all-new SeattleRed.com.
This is not just a Seattle issue.
Finally, conservatives in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest have a home dedicated to local news.
You could have the same exact conversation in Everett or Tacoma.
Conservative analysis and opinion, original video content, and so much more. SeattleRed.com is a new experience for Seattle's conservative movement.
This is kind of a big deal for the future of the Pacific Northwest, really.
Visit the all-new SeattleRed.com.
Olympia, Sammamish, Lakewood, Bellevue.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Bellingham, Kirkland, Z-Town.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at the time, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon, although it's 7:30 for me. That means it's time for the Big Local. Brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show, heard weeknights 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start in Cheney, Washington, where the public school district is making a pretty exciting change to its lunch menus at schools, and one that you wouldn't think would be controversial. And I'm having a hard time reading the Spokesman Review article because I hate them so much. I just assume that they're trying to make something controversial when there's no controversy, but I'm not entirely sure. I think they're making this into a controversy, but we'll pretend. Bringing back whole milk, which doesn't seem like that big of a change, and yet under Democrats and Republican leadership in the White House, whole milk, full fat foods and beverages have been eschewed for, the fat-free stuff because people pretend that consuming fat makes you fat. It does not, in fact, make you fat. Fat does not translate to fat on the body. And so under the new nutritional guidelines from RFK Jr., school lunches will be considerably healthier as they used to be. They're trying to cut as much as of the processed, ultra-processed food out as they can, while also celebrating whole, unprocessed foods, and that includes milk. Although Jackson was wondering if this was raw milk, which would be much healthier, according to some. It is not.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not either. I don't like milk, so I get out of it. I've been doing some. I listen to some podcasts that are talking about whole fat, raw, unpasteurized milk is uber healthy.
I'll stick with the pasteurized.
Yeah, if I'm gonna drink milk, it's gonna be pasteurized, but it would be full fat. Although weirdly, I don't like full fat milk. I like skim milk, but it's not healthy for you, or it's not as healthy. But for years, obviously, Cheney, like so many others, they were basically following the federal nutritional guidelines, and that meant you had to get the skim milk or the low-fat milk, and that was even for really young kids, and it was always justified as some sort of public health move that when you reduce saturated fat, you're fighting childhood obesity. Follow the science, they said. And what's been going on with the childhood obesity rates since we followed the quote-unquote science? Remind us?
It's gotten way worse.
Yeah, fat McFat face got fatter and fatter and fatter. That's what ended up happening. And that's setting these kids up for just miserable childhoods and teenage years and, frankly, adult years. It's insane to me that people got away with this for so long. And over time, the nutritional research didn't just complicate the narrative that we were told, it completely shattered it. Completely. You've got a ton of studies showing that whole milk and fat in general, they're not the villains that nutritionists, and this is not necessarily political, but nutritionists turn them into. They're just not the villains. In fact, especially when you're looking at kids who drink whole milk, they're healthier because they feel fuller longer, which means they're consuming fewer calories overall. And when you're a kid, unless you've got parents who are very particular about what you're eating and drinking, you tend to eat a lot of the ultra-processed food. And so any ways to cut down on that is better. The school is now, they say in the Spokesman Review, offering whole milk alongside lower fat options, giving families and students more choices instead of forcing a one-size-fits-all policy. But I don't like that at all. I think you should get full fat, period, end of story. Stop pretending that there's anything wrong with that, because it's not. Especially given the fact you're not even forcing kids. It's not like you're forcing kids to drink whole milk. You can drink water if you want. But kids are screwed. Sorry. Even now. Do you know how long it's going to take RFK Jr. and Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary, to fix this. Do you know how long? They're not going to be able to fix this in 4 years.
No way. It's too systemic.
There's no, and not only is it systemic, but there's such huge pushback to him. And it was on the Club Random podcast, the Bill Maher podcast. Chris Pratt happened to be a guest, and they were talking about how there's like this reflexive anger towards anything coming from the Trump administration, and it seems like amongst many people, most people certainly in the lawmaker space, but many people on the left will just reflexively say this is wrong because it came from Donald Trump. He could do exactly the same thing that Joe Biden did or Obama, and they would still just immediately say this is wrong, this is awful, can't believe he did that. And that he's like, why would you do that? Like, doesn't this seem like something we can get behind? Not putting Clorox bleach in your cereal in the morning? Isn't that good? And obviously he was speaking a little bit hyperbolic, although not crazy hyperbolically. Why can't we just see this as good news? And part of it, in fairness, on the nutrition side of things, people haven't done any of their own research, and they've been told that full fat whatever is inherently bad for you, and so they just believe it. And RFK Jr. has not done himself any favors with some of the commentary he's made on vaccines. And I don't mean COVID vaccines, but just vaccines in general. And in some cases, I even agree with him, but he's been at times leaning into the kooky stuff. And so I just don't think people are willing to trust him as much. And I understand the lack of trust, but do your own research then, because he's 100% right on this stuff. Meanwhile, speaking of not good for kids, a 74-year-old man out of Union Gap was found guilty of attempted child rape. He was caught in an Operation Net Nanny trial. I'm bringing this up for a reason, but reminder for people who don't know, the Net Nanny stings, essentially created by the Washington State Patrol here in Washington. What they would do is they would go online and they would set up different profiles or like Craigslist ads, basically saying, sometimes explicitly, sometimes not so explicitly, come here if you want to have sex with children. And we've covered some of these stories before. In this case, it was an ad on Craigslist titled Comfort and Joy, according to the Yakima Herald Republic. And this, by the way, this initially happened in 2019. So it's taken a while to get this guy and get him through the court system. But they said it was from a woman looking for someone who was, quote, honest and discreet in order to help her family. It also said there was no role playing. And so the man here, Frederick Walter Thompson, 74 years old, who looks like a pervert. Like he has that look. He responds to the ad, and in the text messages, the woman told him that she was looking for a man who could sexually teach her 11 and 13-year-old daughters the same way her father taught her about sex. And this is all according to the court documents. And I'm going to leave it there because it's really disturbing. So why am I bringing this up? Because we don't normally do these kinds of crime stories out of nowhere. The reason why I'm bringing this up, you've got Democrats in Olympia who believe that this is not as serious of a crime as it is. And they pretend that there's no, quote unquote, child victim here, so we should go easy on these sexual predators. What do you think would happen to a man who, let's say, engages in these conversations and then meets up with an actual child? Do you think they say, oh, no, I only did this for the online fantasy? Or do you think they might actually follow through with the abuse? I'm going to go with that part, the latter. They're going to follow through with the abuse. And if we don't catch them in these tricks, it means they're still looking. And there are some perverted people out there who would offer their kids up for this. And they'll eventually meet, and those kids will be destroyed for the rest of their lives. And yet Democrats pretend this isn't that serious of a crime. We're the victims. Society is a victim with these people out there. And not only are they trying to lower the consequences, the punishments for net nanny stings, and ultimately trying to ban net nanny stings, they're getting in the way of any kind of oversight to stop these people from being released once they are committed. Claire Wilson, the state senator, blocked a bill that had some bipartisan support that would put additional rules on where child sex predators and other sex predators are being released into our communities. And she decided to get in the way of that. Why are they siding with child sex predators? While pretending that they care about the Epstein files, no doubt. It's just so disturbing. And so anytime we see these stories, I want to highlight them, not to just freak people out and gross people out, but I want you to know who the Democrats are fighting for. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. When we come back, we're going to get into a shockingly disingenuous story from CBS about ICE arrests. It truly is remarkable how bad faith this stuff is. We're going to get into that and so much more. Just remember that over the years, Sunset's Warranty Protection for Life has paid over $6 million in warranty claims because they value the long-term relationships with their customers. So stop by the Sunset Auto family for a complimentary warranty health check. Nothing is worse than a void warranty when you need it the most. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner, online at sunsetautofamily.com.
Well, folks, a golden sunrise is dawning over America. Trump is back, ushering in a time of American prosperity, peace, and achievement. And with the economy ready to boom, it's a great time to get a piece of the golden era for yourself. Hi, I'm Brian from Northgate Rare Coins. Whether you're looking to sell your old coins, jewelry, paper money, or precious metals for some quick cash, or you want to make a smart investment for the future, Northgate Rare Coins has you covered. My brother Brendan and I draw from decades of experience to ensure our customers get honest, upfront appraisals and great values every day. We don't have fancy showrooms or high-pressure sales pitches, which means we can usually offer our customers the best deals around, and our appraisals are always free. Celebrate a great new day in America and at Northgate Rare Coins.
Invest in your golden era today at Northgate Rare Coins. See them online at northgaterarecoinscs.com. Or in Linwood, see the Coin Market off 164th Street.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. Losing 1 hour of sleep might not sound like a big deal, but it is. With daylight saving time coming up, drivers need to pay attention. There was a 20-year study published in Current Biology that looked at over 732,000 fatal crashes nationwide. They found a 6% increase in fatal accidents right after the springtime change. That is a measurable spike. And beyond the fatalities, there's a jump in serious life-changing crashes. The reason is simple: sleep disruption. People are tired. Reaction times slow down. So make sure you are driving safely. But if you get into a car accident, call the Herald Car Law offices immediately. It can save you time, stress, and money when dealing with insurance companies that aren't exactly eager to write big checks. This local firm handles auto and truck accidents, wrongful death, bad faith insurers. When you're facing medical bills, repair costs, lost wages, or non-economic damages, you don't have to fight alone. CarLaw.com. C-A-R-R. 2 R's in car. CarLaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
Jason Rantz here. Plumbing problems don't wait, and neither should you. CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical delivers fast, reliable plumbing services that you can trust, including drain cleaning, clog removal, repiping, and water heater installation and repair. For a limited time, save up to $200 on the installation of a brand new water heater, tankless or standard. Some restrictions apply. With over 40 years serving Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties, CM Heating is an award-winning home services company with thousands of 5-star reviews from homeowners in Everett, Linwood, and the surrounding areas. Need help now? CM offers 24/7 availability and fast emergency response. There's no beating CM Heating. Book your free estimate for a brand new water heater at cmheating.com or call 425-259-0550 or cmheating.com. Contractor license CMHEAHL751LW. Plumbing license number CMHEAHL750LP.
SeattleRed.com.
Washington is a sanctuary state.
Local.
This was brought on by Democrats.
Conservative.
Democrats got all excited, high on their own supply.
Bold.
At least they can appreciate the president coming in with some type of help.
Finally, a website dedicated to local news in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest without the liberal spin.
This is going to be a major issue going forward.
Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Let's walk through this University of Washington study and ask the obvious question. Who in the world is shocked by this? There's a report out over at Como News' website about how researchers at the UW, they partnered with Toyota to study built-in vehicle touchscreens. Obviously, people who own any kind of somewhat newish car has these big entertainment touchscreens where basically it's pushed to get it's basically what you used to have on the radio dial, but it's all digital. Plus, you got a bunch of apps now to do a lot more stuff than previously you were able to do with just like the old analog system. But obviously, we've seen this increase in this entertainment panel. And it seems obvious that it's going to affect a driver's performance and the safety. It just makes basic sense. And I suppose we haven't seen a study, at least not recently, that points out the obvious, but that's what this does. It points out the obvious. They used a driving simulator to measure how long it takes a driver to complete common tasks on these infotainment panels. And that includes not just, setting the radio to Seattle Red 770 AM. It's about climate controls and changing audio settings and, navigating the different menus. And the finding is that touchscreens significantly distract drivers and degrade driving performance. Oh, you don't say. I'm so shocked by that. They found that when drivers had to use the touchscreens to complete tasks, the reaction time slowed and their ability to maintain lane position ended up suffering. They say in some cases, you had drivers taking their eyes off the road for extended periods of time to do some, adjustments on the infotainment system, which meant they took their eyes off the road from the basic vehicle functions like staying in a lane, stopping at a stop sign or a stoplight. Now, of course, this is not like controversial findings. This is common sense. There's not a single person out there who's shocked by this. If you remove the physical buttons, the knobs you can feel without looking, and you replace them with, glass panels that make you look at it for visual confirmation, you're essentially forcing drivers to look away from the road unless they're being responsible and doing it when they're fully stopped or parked. And the reality is, none of us are that responsible when it comes to operating vehicles with these infotainment panels. That's the truth. I'm one of them. Now, I like to think I'm not the worst, but doesn't everyone think they're not the worst at doing this? There was, I can do it, I'll be fine. And it's that assumption that always ends up biting us, some of us sooner than later. But it ultimately catches up with us, all of us, and it might catch up with me. I try to do the most basic of basic functions if I have to while driving. I'm at least mindful of it, but I still do it from time to time. But again, this is not controversial in its findings. You're essentially turning routine adjustments into a mini iPad session at 60 miles per hour or 70 miles per hour. The study used a simulator to test how drivers performed while doing all these things on the systems. And, part of me at least says, if you know you're in a simulator, you might take a risk that you otherwise would not take if you knew you were behind the wheel of a car that was functioning. But they were given all these tasks to do while, quote unquote, driving. And they were measured as to how the interactions with the infotainment screen affected all these different safety metrics like reaction time, lane control. And the conclusion of this study was that more visual manual interaction equals more distraction. And again, that's not stunning. Anyone who has tried to adjust temperature in a new vehicle, not even like change the radio or put on a podcast or something, just like change the temperature. You know the drill. You can't instinctively reach for a dial anymore. You're now tapping through menus, or you're sliding these digital bars, or you're, double checking that the system registered what it is you're trying to do. But of course, traffic around you hasn't paused to accommodate, your HVAC system needs. And there's some irony in all of this because the people who are making these cars, they marketed touchscreens as modern and sleek. And ironically, they would say it was safer and that it reduced clutter in the car. But what they actually reduced was the feedback you get from feeling, the tactile feedback, the physical buttons that give you muscle memory, where you can adjust the volume of your radio or the heat or AC in your car by feeling it. Touchscreens demand your eyes. And, in fairness to the UW, it's not like they came out and said that touchscreens are evil and we have to replace all of them. They simply said that certain design choices increase, they said, cognitive and visual load. That when you increase the cognitive load while someone is driving, that matters. But it also reinforces something that safety advocates have been warning about for years, right? Distracted driving isn't just about cars, just about cell phones in cars. It's about anything that diverts attention. And we've spent the last decade hammering drivers about the dangers of texting while driving. We've had entire ad campaigns. To this day, you have state laws, you have PSAs. And yet, car manufacturers have been installing larger and larger built-in tablets into these dashboards, sometimes depending on the car maker and depending on the actual item you're trying to access, they sometimes eliminate physical controls entirely. And they say in the study that not all in-car tech is equal, that some interfaces require more attention than others. And when you have to search through layered menus just to defrost a windshield, they're saying basically that's a design failure. And I do think that there is value from a regulatory standpoint to at least acknowledge this. I don't know if I look at a study like this, as obvious as it is, that my takeaway is we need more regulations. But I'm also not opposed to regulations with this new information, or at least this new study on information we already knew. We know human behavior. We're visual creatures. And when something requires visual confirmation, we're going to have to look at it. If you want someone to keep their eyes on the road, you don't give them a flat digital panel that gives them not even tactile cues or clues as to what it is they're doing. But there's also there's a broader design philosophical issue at play here. We hear, and iPhone really leaned into this, or Apple. Tech companies want minimalism. They say that. They want fewer buttons. They want cleaner dashboards. They want one screen that can control everything. But we never really thought through, I don't think, what minimalism does when you think about the cognitive effort you need to enlist in order to safely operate a vehicle. Now, none of this means we have to panic or ban touchscreens tomorrow, but I do think it suggests that maybe car manufacturers should reconsider how far they've gone, or at least how far they plan to go. You've got hybrid systems that might strike a better balance. I view that as far as just the actual engine of a vehicle, like the hybrid where it can be plugged in or gas powered. That to me makes the most sense. And so maybe there's some sort of version of that that can be relayed on the tech safety side of things. Again, the study's real value isn't shock, because it's not shocking. It's confirmation that design decisions have safety consequences, confirmation that convenience and the aesthetics, they don't always align with what attention demands. And so I did kind of go into the study thinking, yeah, no kidding, dum-dums. I know what this is going to tell us. And I did still. But it does give us some confirmation, I think, can add to a meaningful conversation about designing these car systems. And, you know, when it comes to transportation safety, sometimes what forces design change is reinforcing some basic data points. And so maybe something good can come of this. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. We'll be airing the State of the Union speech tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock. We'll be carrying it live from Washington, D.C. with Fox News coverage. But when we come back, we're going to preview the speech and how Democrats might respond. Former senatorial candidate Tiffany Smiley stops by. We've got that and so much more right here on Seattle Red.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Hey, Jason Rantz here for Legacy Group Capital, online at legacyg.com. The stock market surged last year, and now you're in a position where you either lost out on a whole bunch of potential income or you've got the gains that you need to protect. And dare I say, Legacy Group Capital can work for you regardless of which camp you find yourself in. $8 trillion in cash was sitting on the sidelines last year, and maybe that was you. Or you benefited from the AI and tech boom, but now you want to make sure you're protected. Legacy Group Capital, based in Bellevue, focuses on local real estate development, private lending, and sharing profits with investors. It's a way to diversify without chasing the next overheated trend. And you can invest in Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund. They're offering right now a fixed 9% rate of return. And yes, IRAs are accepted. More than 1,300 local investors have already invested over $350 million with Legacy Group Capital. Find out more online at legacyg.com, the letter G, legacyg.com, or give them a call, 425-635-4700, 425-635-4700.
SeattleRed.com, the only place for local news.
He's using this, the mayor,
without the liberal spin.
to try to push back against National Guard coming to Portland to tackle crime and immigration.
Sign up for the newsletter and get the very latest local conservative news, opinion, exclusive video content, and more delivered right to your inbox every day.
We have got to stop entertaining this victim mentality.
Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results? I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it. Let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds and counting. There's a plan, you trust the process, you follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and seattlered.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
This is a Fox News alert, a message of prosperity. I'm Lisa Lacera. President Trump's first State of the Union address of his second term in just about an hour. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the president's affordability agenda is working.
For the average household across the country, it's about $10,000 more in take-home pay that you get to keep that Uncle Sam doesn't take from you. That's because of Republican policies. We did exactly what we said we were going to do.
On Fox Business at Kudlow, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says those policies are hurting Americans.
Republicans enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped food away from hungry children, seniors, and veterans by cutting SNAP to the tune of $186 billion, and then they gave that money to ICE with a $75 billion slush fund.
At least 70 Democrats have said they will not attend tonight's address and will instead go to counter events or protests. The Democratic response will be delivered by Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. You can't sue the U.S. Postal Service. That's the bottom line from the U.S. Supreme Court.
The justice is ruling against a black Texas landlord who says her mail was intentionally withheld for 2 years, also claiming racial prejudice played a role. In the 5-4 decision, Justice Clarence Thomas writes for a conservative majority that a federal law shielding the Postal Service from missing or lost mail also includes the intentional non-delivery of mail. Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissent argues lawsuit protection does not extend to not delivering mail for malicious reasons.
Fox's Lisa Brady. The Trump administration had warned a ruling in favor of the landlord could lead to many more lawsuits against the Postal Service, which remains in debt. A man fatally stabbed 4 people before being shot by a sheriff's deputy outside a home northwest of Tacoma, Washington. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office says the woman who owned the home had taken out a no-contact order against her adult son. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are 1 hour away on Seattle Red 770 AM from hearing the president deliver his State of the Union live. and I cannot wait. We will preview the State of the Union with Tiffany Smiley. But first, the city of Linwood made a controversial and boneheaded decision. That's what's trending.
What's trending? Snohomish County.
Public safety in the city of Linwood shouldn't collapse because city council members there are afraid of optics or choosing to placate a bunch of liberals and radical leftists who want to abolish ICE. But that's exactly what just happened in the city. The council voted against moving forward with flock license plate reader cameras, essentially saying we're not going to use it in our city. The reason had nothing to do with the cost. If they came out and said, we just think something's a little more expensive, at least I'd respect that a little bit more, even though I would question their motives. But the reality is they decided that there's fear that the data might somehow be used in immigration enforcement to go after criminal illegal immigrants, and thus it makes the use of all of this evil. We can't trust flock because some activist study from the University of Washington said that it's possible it could be used, even though we don't have any evidence locally of it being used for ICE purposes to go after criminal illegal immigrants, but we don't want it to happen. For those of you who don't know what flock is, that's the automatic license plate readers. I'm talking about AI in the last hour. It's AI driven, where you put into the system, be on the lookout for a stolen vehicle with the plates, whatever the plates are. And then if one of those vehicles drives past one of the flock cameras, it immediately tells police the location and the direction that the car is going. That's basically how this works. Could it theoretically be used by ICE? Yeah, I guess. But ICE making targeted arrests in this way means they're going after actual criminals. But that's not good enough for Councilmember Isabel Mata, who doesn't want the criminals gone after.
We know 2 instances in which the flock cameras were used from our system for immigration-related searches. There were 2 instances, one in Pennsylvania and one in Florida. This was because a switch was put on that opened up our system to nationwide search. It was a configuration or a misconfiguration at that point. Just because a tool exists doesn't mean that we should use it necessarily, especially one where the company in question has kind of lost our trust.
But where's the evidence that it was abused? You'll notice that she's confident that it was used, but she doesn't tell us how it was used, just that it was used. She doesn't tell us who was arrested. If it was a rapist who was arrested or a child molester or a murderer, she would have the exact same anger. That's the problem. She's insane. She's absolutely nuts. And by the way, this isn't just used to go after criminals. It can be used for Amber Alerts as well, or Silver Alerts. And they're already in use in this state by law enforcement agencies. They're designed to help police solve crimes faster, linking to actual evidence that they can use in the moment to get a criminal off the streets. And I suppose the Democratic Party has gone overboard in protecting criminals. They're just doing it now in this way. Remember, it's not just about protecting Washington criminals. It's about protecting criminal illegal immigrants in Washington. Linwood PD supported the cameras, and they tried to make their case. But there was a group called Deflock Linwood, again, radical leftists, saying that this is a violation of civil liberties.
This technology is fundamentally flawed. Due to the technical nature of how Flock has built their network on a national scale, I don't think we have any control over what they can do.
Oh, we don't know what we can do. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, no. I mean, these people are absolutely insane. They are certifiable. Here's some residents who spoke up.
I don't think it's a bad thing that ICE is doing that. I think that they should be able to follow through with everything that they're doing.
Yeah, when Como speaks to like normal people, they take normal positions. And I absolutely love that. But Linwood police tried to get the cameras installed. They said this is a good tool to use to go after car theft rings, organized retail theft, repeat offenders. This is the exact kind of practical crime-fighting technology that most people assume the city would adopt without any drama whatsoever. But, of course, this is the city of Linwood that is overtaken by the radical leftists. And so the members of the city council, initially they stalled on this, but ultimately rejected it. Let's be clear about what that means. I think this is kind of important for people to truly understand. They weren't voting on deportation policy. They weren't voting on whether or not ICE would continue to operate in their city. They're simply saying, because this is a tool that ICE could potentially use, we want to get in the way of it. That's all. The theory of it being used was enough to scare them off. And that's what happens when ideology overtakes just basic governance. I think last week, maybe the week before that, we talked about this idea that in a perfect world, local governments aren't run ideologically in either direction. That you're not really able to tell whether or not someone is a Democrat or Republican because they're doing basic things like filling potholes and arresting criminals. But now how they respond to that tells us their politics. That's the reality. And the whole, flock systems, they can't be trusted. Well, they come with data retention policies. There was a state law that was just backed that even gave more rules on this. There's no facial recognition dragnets in all of this. They don't track random residents in real time. They simply flag vehicles tied to crimes. And if there are concerns about data sharing, you can come out and draft a policy. But then instead of drafting a policy, because that might be too hard, what do they do instead? Well, they lost our trust, so we're just going to ban them. They threw out the entire tool because the activists on the council don't like the optics. And the part they continuously downplay is that criminals don't care about your sanctuary policy, performative nonsense, your virtue signaling. They don't care about that. The guy stealing catalytic converters at 3 a.m., doesn't pause to consider the philosophical debate happening at City Hall, but he is aware of it, and he now knows that this is one fewer tool that Linwood PD have at their disposal. That's so absolutely pathetic, so backwards. The first responsibility for local government should be public safety, not posturing in this way. And of course, this is not just happening in Linwood, it's happening across the state. You have politically comfortable positions being taken by radicals on councils. This doesn't stop federal immigration enforcement. It just makes it harder to catch criminals locally. Again, perhaps that's the actual intended reason for this. Over the years, Sunset's Warranty Protection for Life has paid over $6 million in warranty claims because they value the long-term relationships with their customers. Stop by for Sunset Auto Family's complimentary warranty health check. Nothing is worse than a void warranty when you need it the most. Just bring in your car. It's absolutely free. It takes a few minutes. You just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending on the campaign trail?
Obviously, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who's running for president, he will be watching the State of the Union. Maybe he'll be listening to it live on Seattle Red. We're going to broadcast that at 6 p.m., so about 45 minutes from now. And he's going to watch this because he's looking for ways that he can attack the president and prop up his own future dying campaign. And we made reference to this yesterday. Last week, Nate Silver, formerly of 538, he pointed out that the data shows that Gavin Newsom is doing really poorly. His brand is very weak. No one seems to like him for obvious reasons. They look at where other candidates have been who ultimately become the nominee to where he is right now in the polling, and it's just awful. And so our favorite data nerd from CNN, Harry Enton, looked at the newest polling and says he's got a plurality of support for the nomination right now, but you shouldn't really look into that very closely.
This is just a downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look here. Top choices for the 2028 Dem-Pres nominee. You have a leader, but it's not really a clear leader. It's within the margin of error. You have Newsom at 19%. Then you have former Vice President Kamala Harris at 18%. Quite a weak number for her, given that, of course, she was the nominee last time around. Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, has run before, 13%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 12%. This is just a total clown car. It is a total mess. There is no clear front runner at this particular point on the Democratic side.
Now, to be clear, him calling it a clown car is in the context of where things currently stand. It doesn't mean it's going to stay like that forever. And it likely won't stay like that forever. You're going to start to see some of the people sort of peter out. Pete Buttigieg will likely be the first amongst them. Kamala Harris, who's desperate to become president, at some point is going to realize it. And it might very well be that Gavin Newsom becomes the nominee. However, he's not going to become president. In fact, his idea or the idea of him being even the nominee isn't a sure thing. In fact, his odds have actually decreased.
Seems to me that Gavin Newsom is flailing a little bit, at least compared to where he was prior. Because just take a look here. Okay, Chance Newsom is the 2028 Democratic nominee. 3 months ago, according to the cash prediction market, look at that, it was a 37% chance. Now, it's just a 28%. Down he goes. He's definitely flailing a little bit. And I will note, John, I will note that it also seems to me people are a little less interested in Gavin Newsom than they used to be. Look at this. Google searches for Gavin Newsom down 63% from the August peak. You remember back then it was when he started that social media, right, going after President Trump. There was a lot of interest from Democratic voters, but maybe that interest is waning off just a little bit.
Or it wasn't interest. They were just wondering what this clown show actually is all about. I mean, when you say there's interest, to me it means like, hey, I like this guy. I want to learn more about him. They could have just been trying to figure out, like, what is this lunatic doing? What is this dum-dum doing with these stupid tweets, which he's still leaning into? It is a losing battle. And, of course, the reason why this is so relevant and the reason why I presume Harry Enton is talking about this is this massive mistake that he made over the weekend when and I didn't even realize this initially. He was on his own book tour. He was on his own book tour, and he was talking to a black audience, which was actually weirdly more white, it looked like, from at least one of the photos I saw. It was almost completely empty, by the way. But he made the pitch to his black audience members that he's stupid just like them. That's his argument, which is so incredibly condescending.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you.
No, you are trying to impress them. You're trying to impress everyone. You're desperate for approval.
I'm like you.
I'm like you.
I'm no better than you.
Than you.
You know, I'm a 960 SAT guy. And, you know, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, you know, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in.
Yeah, so he's now claiming he's got dyslexia. And this is a line that has come up just within the last few months. He used it once, I think, with Ted Cruz, pretending now that he's the victim. He's claiming any criticism of his speech is ableist, that you're just attacking people who have some kind of issue with dyslexic people. But the problem is, because Gavin Newsom is such a fraud, he's an absolute fraud, an absolute phony, people were able to quickly point out on his own podcast, he previously boasted, he bragged about chugging through a book.
You've written a hell of a book, and I don't say that lightly. I went through it in a quick hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And trust me, I don't read very fast, but it reads at an unbelievable pace. It's so well written.
But you just said you don't read. And it should be noted that he told the black audience that he's just like them. He doesn't know how to read. He's talking to two white authors saying he voraciously went through his book, their book.
And of course, it's so familiar because I felt a little bit adjacent to so much of the subject matter. It's 18 chapters. It's an impressive piece of work, 263 or so pages.
Now, to be clear, I don't think he's telling you the truth in this interview. He didn't read the book. I don't think he read the book. The problem for him is that he is so inauthentic that he can't stick to one talking point. He just wants to say what he thinks will land in the moment. Every author who goes on, and I know this as someone who, I wrote a book, What's Killing America. I got paid to write it and everything. It's on sale at Amazon. It's a wonderful read, if I do say so myself. But I had to do a bunch of radio and TV interviews about the book. And I say that as if it was not fun. It was awesome. I loved it. I hope to do it again soon. Maybe I will, hint, hint. But as I was doing that, people would say that they read the book, like hosts. They clearly didn't read the book. And I know that they didn't read the book because when I do book authors, I don't read an entire book prior to talking to people if the book just came out. Now, sometimes if there's a book, so Dave Asprey was on the show earlier today. I've read his books. he doesn't have a new book out. He has a newer book that's out, like he has a latest book that I actually, in that case, I didn't read it. I listened to it on Audible. But all the other ones I actually physically read. So that's different. But if his book just came out today and he comes on the show, yeah, I will not have read it. I'm not a voracious reader when it comes to books because guess what? I read all day, every day, the news, and it takes up a lot of my time. I'm not a particularly fast reader when it comes to books. Articles a little bit differently. But people say this all the time, and he no doubt was lying when he made that comment to those two authors. But the lie that he told is in direct conflict with this perfectly consultant crafted persona he's trying to create now as the dyslexic kid who's just like you, dumb and can't read. Who he should fire everyone who came up with that. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
A curious development in the contrived Jeffrey Epstein scandal that Democrats want to put on Republicans. Robert Garcia, who is a scam artist. This is another one of those like troll members of Congress who pretends to care about issues he doesn't actually care about because, well, guess what? He has a brand to uphold and he realizes it's getting him TV hits, so he gets to go on CNN and MS Now. But he actually had to answer to a question about why Democrats didn't do anything for 4 years on this issue. And he surprisingly, all of a sudden, is getting critical of the former Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and his record on the Epstein file.
I mean, look, obviously I've only led this committee not even for a year. I just got to Congress as a new member. But I have the same exact questions for Democratic administrations. And I think one of the questions I've had to Merrick Garland, for example, is why not in the former DOJ, whether it was a Republican or Democratic administration, why weren't we aggressive in getting justice for the survivors? Why has it been now decades of abuse and cover-up? Why have these survivors not been able to have access to these files? And so I think that those questions have to be answered by every administration. Now, clearly there is some type of cover-up happening right now. But why the DOJ under Merrick Garland or others weren't forthcoming in what was actually in these files, I think is an important question that has to be answered. I've talked to Chairman Comer. I think it's important that we hear from Merrick Garland and others and former directors of the FBI and former attorneys general. That is an important part of this investigation.
Yeah, it's an important part of this investigation. Why is it that none of your colleagues seem to share that view? And how about this? Why don't you call directly right now? And he didn't do it in this interview. Call directly for Merrick Garland to have to testify. Call for it immediately. And again, I'm not in the business of just pushing for all these things to be public, as much as I totally understand it. It ends up becoming a spectacle. But if you truly cared about this issue, why not? It seems like Republicans would join you in asking for Merrick Garland to step forward and testify on this. And maybe you can, at your next grandstanding speech on the House floor, turn to your Democratic colleagues like, say, I don't know, Pramila Jayapal, and ask her why she was silent for 4 years. Talk to your own party. Talk to your own party on this as to why they were so quiet for 4 years and why they didn't put any pressure on Merrick Garland or the Biden administration to release any of the documents that all of a sudden they say it's pivotal that we get the information on. If he truly meant what he just said, that's what he would do. But the reality is he doesn't actually mean it. This is all a show. This is all to pretend that he's being consistent, because when now the next time I go on TV and point out that the Democratic Party doesn't actually care about this, he'll go, what do you mean? Just the other day I did an interview. Yeah, just the other day after you had to. But when you actually had power, your party, you chose not to use it. So please spare me. Please spare me these self-righteous proclamations that you're on the right side of this and you're truly fighting for the rights and the justice for abused women and girls. Please, just spare me. It's so gross that Democrats and some Republicans use the suffering of actual victims for political gain. Speaking of gross and demonic, let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Bad guy alert.
Folks on both sides of the aisle, but I'm glad to say mostly coming from the right, are calling out the quote-unquote evil demon that is Candace Owens, a grifter who has redefined the grift to the most evil of degrees. Just absolute evil coming from Candace Owens, who is now spreading a teaser trailer for a so-called investigative series. It's not an actual investigation of the Charlie Kirk assassination. She is claiming that Erica Kirk, the widow, is somehow behind this particular shooting, along with Israel, of course. It's just disgusting what it is she's doing. It's just absolutely disgusting. And I was thinking about maybe playing a clip from this disgusting trailer, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to do what every conservative should be doing, which is calling out the evil, demonic nature of Candace Owens, and frankly, shaming anyone, including in this audience, who think what she's doing is in good faith, is legitimate, is honest, is reasonable. I'm sorry. I love you all, but if you fall for this, you are falling for a grifter, and you deserved the grift. You deserve to be grifted if you're falling for this. And look, I am in the camp of years ago, I didn't realize she was insane because she wasn't pretending back then, or maybe she was, right? She's always had some of that criticism that she's faking stuff, but she wasn't faking this level of demonic nature because she wasn't making any money off of it at the time. And the second that Charlie Kirk was killed, she decided to switch because she can make a ton of money, and she has made a ton of money off of the conspiracies. And as she's pushed this investigative series, there are people who are calling her out in big ways. Of course, not Megyn Kelly, who previously defended her, but Red State's Bonchi tweeted, "Every day there's some new line being crossed by this lunatic that makes me wonder whether certain people will finally speak up." They won't, though. Not even this will be enough. And it's probably time to start asking why they're so invested in Owens. Seth Dillon, who is the creator of the Babylon Bee, said, "What would Charlie have to say about this? And what would he think of his so-called friends who can't summon the courage to say it for him?" Joel Berry, a colleague over at Babylon Bee, said, "This is the pea soup vomit we've come to expect from Candace, but let's talk about what's fueling it. The cowardly silence of professional talkers who built their brands on courageous truth-telling, cowards as far as the eye can see." Friend of the show, Meghan McCain, called this pure, unadulterated, bleeping evil. Who in God's name would put a woman whose husband was brutally assassinated in front of the entire world through this? I'm so upset by this. I'm just so deeply sorry Erica and her family have to be put through this. And the list of people who are speaking up, thankfully, goes on and on and on. I'm not entirely sure I need people like Megyn Kelly to call this out, even if she previously defended it. I don't know if I need that. I just want more people to not fall for this grift and give her money. And you're giving her money either directly or indirectly if you're a podcast subscriber to her, if you retweet her content. I mean, I did a Fox News hit about her maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I chose not to use her name. I made the choice not to say her name. Why? Really simple. I don't want to feed into her brand. And there's going to be some people who are just mildly curious about what it is she's saying that might listen, that might tune in and give her money. And I'm not okay with that. 1-800-465-8770. I keep wanting to say Supreme Court, but the State of the Union speech is happening in about 30 minutes or so, a little more than 30 minutes from now. We'll be carrying it live right here on Seattle Red 770 AM, but we will preview it. I'll have my own thoughts, plus Tiffany Smiley, former Senate candidate from here in Washington, will have her thoughts as we head closer and closer and closer to the big night, to the big event tonight at 6. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision.
If you're over 50 and you've been diagnosed with a cataract, or your vision is changing as you're developing an early cataract, you could be a perfect candidate for K2 Vision RLE.
It's inevitable. At some point, typically in your 60s or 70s, you'll have a dysfunctional lens that eventually becomes a cataract. To restore your vision, you will someday need a procedure such as refractive lens exchange.
The question is, are you done with glasses? Do you want to spend your good, active years hassling with changing prescriptions and needing readers?
K2 Vision RLE can give you great vision now, permanently, and you'll never develop that cataract. The procedure is quick and painless, and our state-of-the-art custom lens technologies give highly predictable outcomes.
K2 Vision doctors have performed over 150,000 procedures. They know when it's your right time for RLE. Schedule your free Zoom consult today at k2visionrle.com. K2 Vision RLE. No readers, glasses, contacts, or cataracts.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Spring is right around the corner, but the perfect time to start your outdoor project is right now. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years. They design, build, and maintain stunning outdoor spaces, from full makeovers to weekly maintenance. Beat the spring rush and get your yard project started today. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Remember that time we were driving through France and for some reason we didn't have GPS?
Oh, for some reason? That reason would be that you didn't plug your phone in because you didn't have a charger.
Yeah, because I let you borrow my phone so you could call your mother, and you're on the phone for like 30 minutes telling her where we are. But that aside, we didn't know where we were going. We did fight a little bit because we didn't know where we were going. I think that Longevity Medical Clinic is like the GPS for us. They tell us which turns to make. They tell us which directions to go, right?
They do. And now I feel like the two of us together have a clear path and we have more control over our own health care.
Right, exactly. So you don't have to get out of the car and try to find information somewhere. It's all right there. As you're aging, all the little sort of turns you have to make in order to be able to have lots of energy and to enjoy your life. So for as far as I'm concerned, Longevity Medical Clinic is our GPS. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
Active Liver from New Nordic protects your liver so you can enjoy life to the fullest. Online at Amazon or in stores at CVS, Wegmans, and now GNC.
The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal.
I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
So about 30 minutes from now, we'll be carrying the State of the Union speech from President Donald Trump live right here on Seattle Red. We'll be streaming it at seattlered.com, the Seattle Red app, the Seattle Red YouTube channel. And there are a lot of open questions. Will he be playing the hits? Will he be sticking to the script? And of course, how will Democrats react? Joining me on the line to help preview the State of the Union, Tiffany Smiley, former candidate for Senate here in Washington, founder of the Endeavor PAC. Tiffany, welcome back.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me.
There's a lot of strengths to this president when delivering these kinds of speeches. Generally, it's very hard unless you try to not come off as presidential. And he's always rose to the occasion. What do you think his strategy will be tonight?
Yeah, I think he's going to paint a picture of a prosperous country, of a strong country, and a country that is once again respected, not just here at home, but around the world. He has hit the ground running in just over a year, and on multiple fronts. It wasn't just the economy that he needed to get back on track. He had to secure the border. He had to stop wars. He had to stop drugs from coming into our country. He had to get the economy back on track. He had to start dealing on the world stage that really is positioning America for not just prosperity in the next 3 years, but perhaps prosperity for my kids in their future, for generations to come. So I think that he will paint that picture. I think it's interesting that Democrats are going to continue to play their theatrics, and some are choosing to sit out. I know Patty Murray is not going to be in attendance, our wonderful senator from Washington State. Instead, she's doing her own live stream, which what she has done for our country in Washington State, I really don't know what she's going to have to say. But it's unfortunate because this is exactly what the American people are sick of. They're sick of the you versus me, us versus them. The American people want the Democrats to sit in there and listen. And this is what our country was founded on, to grapple and to have hard conversations and to actually get work done. That's why Congress's approval rating is so low, because of these continued theatrics. But, back to Trump, I think this will be a strong speech. I think it will be, historic for our country. And really, truly, it's going to set the stage for this next year, and especially, Jason, heading into the midterms, which are so important coming up here in just a few short months.
When you look at the polling, it's a little all over the place. It tends to be, frankly, with Donald Trump, but it does make sense that people at this point have fallen for a lot of the media spin on immigration, on the economy. How does he address that? Let's just start with the economy. It clearly, on paper, we're doing better economically than we were previously doing, and we can easily point to specific metrics. But if the American people aren't feeling it, or they don't feel like it's accurate, it doesn't really matter. And it's never good for any president to get out there and say the economy is doing well, stupid, and what you're feeling is wrong. So how does he build that bridge between the facts and people's feelings?
Yeah, like Biden did, right? Where he told the American people the economy is good, and we're all shaking our head no with Bidenomics. That was really his downfall. But there are good things happening. Things are trending in the right direction. Maybe perhaps people aren't quite feeling it yet. So that's the opportunity that Trump has ahead of him, is to really make his case, right? And when Trump talks about his policies and he talks about the agenda that he is implementing, it feels good. And it feels good to Americans, and it feels good to business owners. It feels good to the average hardworking American that's out there trying to survive. The good news is I think just today, consumer confidence had a slight uptick. So when I say it's trending in the right direction, there are things that are happening. You can point to the President Trump's job approval, which isn't great. Disapproval is 63%. Job approval is 36%. But what I think, Jason, we're going to see happen is he's going to deliver a very energetic, strong speech. And then in the next few months, as Americans are filing their tax returns, they're going to start to see these policies that President Trump has fought so hard for really take effect. You think of the No Tax on Tip Act, no tax on overtime, the increase in the child credit tax. There's good things that are going to be happening post State of the Union speech, in which he's going to lay out. And so I think, we will see a significant shift in these numbers within the next 6 months or so, when what he is going to deliver and lay out starts to match reality and starts to match the feeling of more money in Americans' pockets. We do know the economy is in a better place than we were a year ago. Real wages are up. Gas prices are going down. So absolutely trending in the right direction, and that's in favor of President Trump.
On immigration, folks generally support ICE, and they support border controls, they support immigration enforcement, but the polling has suggested that they think that ICE has gone a little bit too far. Same point. Does the president address that aspect of this debate? And would it be better for him to say, I hear you on this, here's who we're going after, and here, like, does he need to do a realignment or a restaging of what this is about?
Yeah, and I think he will. I think he will, obviously historic record at the border, the most secure border, certainly in my lifetime. He's done some really good things in making Americans safer. I think he will address the criminals and the criminal illegals that they have gotten out of our country to protect Americans. And he will lay out probably just the plan going forward. Of course, the Democrats, they just want chaos. And they've been able to sort of dominate the airwaves with that. Just last night on CNN, I mentioned they were talking about ICE and how terrible ICE is and, Americans are getting killed. And I said, well, I think we need to back up and address the issue of what peaceful protesting really is. Attacking ICE agents and attacking law enforcement is not the American way. That creates chaos. And we have to ask, where are these agitators coming from? Who is paying them? And this is exactly, what the Democrats want. They want to present chaos. They want to present, just destruction and anything to thwart President Trump's agenda. But I think if President Trump can cut through and really just show the historic gains that he has made for Americans and how he is bringing peace and prosperity, and he will probably address how crime is down. He will address how strong our law enforcement and ICE agents are in protecting Americans. And I think that's what his vision will be, and kind of cutting through the chaos and cutting through the noise. And look, the Democrats that aren't showing up or going to play theatrics at the State of the Union, it's childish. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing. They shouldn't be in Congress if they can't be an adult and stand up and actually go to work for the will of the American people.
Well, and the fact that they can't even show up. I mean, so let's separate out the two things. We're talking with Tiffany Smiley, by the way, founder of the Endeavor PAC. You've got, I think, it might be every single member of the Washington congressional delegation on the left. Adam Smith announced he's not going to show. Emily Randall, the forgotten congresswoman, she's not showing. Pramila Jayapal isn't. I haven't seen anything from Rick Larson or Marilyn Strickland. Again, I'm assuming they're not going to show up. And of course, the Republicans will be there, including Dan Newhouse is hardly a hardcore MAGA supporter, but he's willing, of course, to show up. I mean, I don't know if I'm more embarrassed for the people who aren't capable of showing up without, I guess, feeling like they would cause a scene, another Al Green moment. But if they don't show up, should the president call it out? And how should the president handle anyone who acts out like Al Green did last year?
I think the president handled Al Green perfectly. It just showed just how far off base the Democrats are, and kind of let them have their charades. And it showed sort of like how we got to where we are and why we need President Trump to cut through. And, they're going to try to distract. They're going to try to make it about themselves. It's kind of the only thing they have right now. So if President Trump can really cut through and rise above it and give Americans that confidence, give Americans the confidence that he is the one, that wants to keep the government open. He is the one that wants to enforce the law. He wants to keep Americans safe. And Democrats are once again risking public safety just for, pointless political stunts. I think that's the angle he's going to have to present, and the American people are going to have to believe it. And I think, with those Democrats not showing up and acting out, that will be very clear tonight.
What's going to be tomorrow's headline?
Ooh. I think that America's going to be strong, prosperous, and respected. I think it will be. Well, if it's a Democrat headline, it'll be something about ICE. But overall, I think it will be on the economy and the hope for the economy, that the future is bright and that things are trending in the right direction.
There you go. Endeavor PAC founder Tiffany Smiley. As always, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Jason.
You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. We're about 15 or so minutes away from live coverage of the State of the Union address. as President Trump speaks to the nation. We'll see how many Democrats end up not showing up. We'll obviously find out how many Democrats are going to cause a scene or attempt to cause a scene. When we come back, I'll give you my final thoughts as we head into the Fox News Live coverage of the State of the Union address right here on the Jason Rantz Show on Seattle Red 770 AM, online at seattlered.com.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Ready to free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at amazonbusiness.com.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Meet Lee Platz, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Need life insurance but have diabetes, high blood pressure, or on anxiety meds? If you're a 50-year-old male, even porky, or with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of life insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. For affordable term life insurance, call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. 800-777-1225.
Progressive presents a guided meditation.
Hear the birds sing. A chipmunk nibbling on an acorn. Smell the pine needles gently falling into your living room as the breeze blows through the gaping hole in your roof. Gaze up at that broken tree branch and relax, because you bundled your home and auto with Progressive and have the peace of mind of 24/7 protection. So relaxing.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like Sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
SeattleRed.com.
Washington is a sanctuary state.
Local.
This was brought on by Democrats.
Conservative.
Democrats got all excited, high on their own supply.
Bold.
At least they can appreciate the president coming in with some type of help.
Finally, a website dedicated to local news in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest without the liberal spin.
This is going to be a major issue going forward.
Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com. The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
So in about 10, 15 minutes or so from now, we're not going to get just another political speech. We're going to get what could arguably be described as the most consequential State of the Union of the president's second term. And what he does, or really what he doesn't do, defines not just the direction for the Republican Party into the midterms, but the condition of the Republic itself. He walks into that House chamber at a moment when a lot of Americans, including conservatives, are skeptical. They are skeptical of the direction of the economy, even though, as we just talked about with Tiffany Smiley, things on paper are going well. Obviously, some skepticism over ICE, at least how aggressive they've been. And the polls in the last few days show only about a third of the country think he has the right priorities, and his disapproval ratings are climbing. Now, Trump has never been easy to poll, or Trump supporters have never been easy to poll. And so I take some of that with a grain of salt, but when they're all fairly consistent, that obviously does tell a story. And you've got a majority of people saying that we're going in the wrong direction. And that's more concerning when you look at the independents who hold that view. I don't care about Democratic polling. I don't care how the Democrats feel unless they're doing something that's completely out of the norm. And obviously it's not out of the norm for Democrats to be against Donald Trump. It's only meaningful if they come out and say, we actually support Donald Trump. Independents matter. And Republicans, while there's been a little bit of souring on some aspects of this administration, for the most part, the strength of the Republican support for the party is still there. It's independents that I'm worried about. And if we want to win elections nationally, independents matter. Now, the president's team, I imagine, wants a reset tonight. A chance to take the narrative back from the Democrats who try to frame every single policy as out of step with the struggles of the American people, the demands of the American people. And his theme is perfect for him, America at 250. But strength on paper doesn't mean strength in people's lives. When you look at inflation still stinging too many people, though clearly down and continually going down, you see some industry wage stagnation. It's real. And the Republicans who are up for re-election this year or running in competitive seats, trying to unseat a Democrat, they know all of this. And Trump has to sell a record that's disputed amongst, in some cases, his own base. But what this night is actually about is not numbers. It's about leadership. You've got a partial shutdown of DHS, and that hangs over everything. Trump has to explain why border security, something that he has achieved, hasn't been able to connect with Democrats. He's got to put this on them. That's the test. He can't just declare success on immigration and then just move on. And we did the story last week. They had a private pollster, Republicans, and this was led by Susie Wiles, chief of staff, saying, simply saying that the border's closed now, that's not connecting with the American people. So he needs to address it in a slightly different way. And he needs to make clear that Republicans won't allow Democrats to hold security hostage. On the economy, he's going to tout the tax cuts. He's going to tout the record refunds that most people in this country will get in just about a month and a half. He'll talk about prescription cost reductions, his affordability initiatives, and he should. But to resonate with voters, he needs to move beyond these ornamental victories and define practical wins that ordinary people can point to when they pay the rent or their mortgage or when they pump gas. Our economy can't just be a talking point. It's an everyday reality, and he has to ground his policies in that. The Democrats' message on economic struggles, they gain traction even when they're lying because it's all emotional. So we have to also get a little emotional. The Democrats have Abigail Spanberger, the radical governor of Virginia, delivering the response to the State of the Union. It's never an easy position for a Republican or a Democrat to do. They almost never manage to make it work. And they're using Spanberger in particular because she still got that, brand from folks on the left who are acting in bad faith, I think, that she's just a reasonable, moderate Democrat when she's, of course, not. And I think ultimately choosing her is going to backfire. You've got Democrats who are either going to skip tonight or they're going to make a scene. How the president handles that, I imagine, I agree with Tiffany in the last segment, he's going to handle it the same way he did last time, which is effectively, because he doesn't need to do anything to quote-unquote handle it. Because the spectacle in and of itself is the embarrassment, and it'll backfire on Democrats. So that's why Democrats are so nervous about how they'll keep their own people in order. But obviously the president has to be ready for it, and he's good at thinking on his feet and reacting quickly. But what's on the line tonight is pretty significant. If the president can articulate a clear, unifying vision, a results-oriented vision that touches every American's life, and that's on the economy, that's border security, that's national defense, that's all of these policies wrapped into one, then the GOP ends up holding momentum into November. And there have been poll after poll after poll weirdly and I say weirdly because I didn't expect to see this, consistently saying that Republicans are actually doing far better than historically the party in power does. Now, that doesn't really mean anything when you're looking at a national poll because these are local elections or regional elections, and that can go in all sorts of different directions. But right now, the Republicans are in a surprisingly strong position. But if he fails to move the needle tonight, just about 5-10 minutes from now, if he leans too heavily on talking points that divide instead of persuade, which we know he's capable of doing, persuading, not just dividing, then this Supreme Court, this State of the Union address is going to be remembered probably as a missed opportunity. And at a moment when the nation is more divided than at almost any point in recent memory, leadership isn't about echo chambers. It's about convincing the unconvinced, the undecided, those simply tired of the status quo. And boy, does he have one easy opportunity to bring everyone together. And again, he's very good at the spectacle. And we've got the U.S. hockey team that will be there tonight. I think every single player. And that's going to be a huge moment of unity. And if I were the president, I would bring them out very quickly. Don't wait until, usually we wait until the end for the big guest to be introduced. No. I think they should bring him out, bring the team out, point to them early on in the speech. The state of our union is strong, made stronger because of the gold medal winners in the hockey, and then point right to them. He should have a lot of fun with that. And they should have fun. And they have an infectious personality with their pride in this country. It's truly infectious. And I think that they should really lean into that. Tonight, the president should show how he can bring people together, why conservative governance isn't just rhetoric, it's practical action that improves our lives. And that's what the American people expect. And that's what a State of the Union address should deliver. It's what a State of the Union can deliver in the right hands. Donald Trump has the right hands for this. I think he always comes off as strong when he's in these settings, so long as he sticks to the strategy and the script. We'll see if he does that in just a few moments from now as we carry the State of the Union live right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. If you're about to get out of your car and you want to still listen, don't forget, head on over to the Seattle Red app or seattlered.com or Seattle Red on YouTube. We are carrying it live. Do not miss it. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. State of the Union coming up next.
SeattleRed.com.
This was brought on
local
by Democrats.
Conservative.
Democrats got all excited, high on their own supply.
Bold.
We have got to stop this victim mentality.
Finally, a website dedicated to local news in Seattle. Make it the first site you read every day. SeattleRed.com.
Jason Rantz here. Power issues aren't just inconvenient. They can be dangerous. And that's why homeowners across the region trust CM Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical for professional electrical services, including generator installation, wiring and rewiring, plus panel upgrades. With over 40 years serving Snohomish, King, Skagit, and Island counties, CM Heating delivers award-winning service backed by thousands of 5-star reviews from homeowners in Everett, Linwood, and all the surrounding communities. Whether you're upgrading your electrical panel or preparing your home with a generator, CM's licensed electricians are available 24/7 with fast emergency response. There's no beating CM Heating. Schedule your electrical service today at cmheating.com, cmheating.com, or call 425-259-0550, 425-259-0550. Contractor license CMHEAHL751LW and electrical license CMHEAHL754L3.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and I could see it in the mirror. I could feel it in my clothing fit. I needed to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe not a ton, but definitely some. This opportunity came up, and I was skeptical. Would it really be worth putting in the work to actually get the results? I wasn't sure. So I did a phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. We talked through the whole thing, and Adam and I decided, you know what, let's go for it. Let's commit. And with that commitment has come amazing outcomes. We have lost a combined 40-plus pounds and counting. There's a plan. You trust the process. You follow it, and the weight melts away. I can personally attest to how well this works. So find out for yourself. At the very least, set up a 15-minute phone call with Dr. Coogan and his team. Go to eastsideweightlossclinic.com to find out more. eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Have you ever wondered how to use your tax return to reduce future taxes? Madrona Financial's 1040 Treasure Hunt is a free hands-on workshop that shows you how to analyze your return and uncover tax savings opportunities. This free event is happening March 3rd at 6 p.m. at Madrona's Kirkland office. RSVP at 833-673-7373 or visit madronafinancial.com/events to reserve your spot today.
This is a paid advertisement. Investments involve risk. See full disclosures at madronafinancial.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
We are Seattle Red. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO-FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Live from Washington, D.C., Fox News Audio presents the State of the Union 2026. Now, your hosts, Jared Halpern and Jessica Rosenthal.
President Trump has arrived at the U.S. Capitol. He will soon make his way to the House chamber to deliver his first State of the Union address of his second term. Good evening from Washington. I am Jared Halpern along with Jessica Rosenthal. Members of Congress have been warned to get comfortable for what could be a lengthy address from the president, focused largely on the economy, Jess.
We are seeing the House fill up. Some of the cabinet secretaries have entered the House chamber, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Department of Wars Pete Hegseth, and Department of Justice Pam Bondi. Yep. We also see plenty of the Supreme Court justices in attendance after the tariff ruling and after President Trump's ire at the outcome there. I've seen, I'm sure you have as well, Jared, seen Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Elena Kagan, as well as Brett Kavanaugh. First Lady Melania Trump took her seat next to son Barron, who is seated next to Ivanka Trump. So it's a who's who of the Beltway.
And it looks like the Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shaking hands with the Joint Chiefs as more members of the cabinet make their way. And I think you're right, by the way, Jess, just those four Supreme Court justices in attendance, which is notable, I think, obviously, given how harsh President Trump has been at the Supreme Court here since that Friday ruling on tariffs. I see the Commerce Secretary there, Howard Lutnick, shaking hands with the Chief Justice. Of course, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, a chief architect of that tariff policy that was slapped down by the U.S. Supreme Court. The CIA director making his way in. So as the folks here in the cabinet take their seats, that will kind of be our cue that President Trump will be introduced. They are running, as you can imagine, Jessica, a few minutes behind schedule. That is to be expected when there's so many handshakes to be delivered.
I was just going to say, it looks like every cabinet secretary is being stopped by multiple members as they walk down.
I've not seen who the absent one is. We would expect one not to be there as the designated survivor, but at least to my eye, I've seen all of them come in, so I'll try my best to see if we can figure that out. But the president's family there, we have seen Ivanka Trump, we have seen Barron Trump, Don Jr. Just shown up in the gallery. Again, they'll all be in the First Lady's box, along with the First Lady's guest. The HHS secretary has made his way in. I see the DHS secretary making her way in. And, you know, that's notable, too, because if you are giving a State of the Union speech and you are highlighting, say, border enforcement, you want your DHS secretary there. So oftentimes the cabinet secretaries that have kind of that prime real estate, if you will, those really prominent seats, is an indication of where this State of the Union speech may be headed.
You know, Jared, speaking of prime real estate, you know, I see some of the members of Congress leaning over to shake the hands of the cabinet secretaries. House members don't necessarily have a ton of face time with cabinet secretaries, right? Everybody's off kind of doing their job. So if you see people really joyfully, vigorously shaking somebody's hand, smiling, trying to have a few words, how valuable do you think that face time is? Do people remember those moments and say, oh, you made an effort?
It's valuable in that sense, but also keep in mind there are a number of cabinet secretaries who have a little bit of a homecoming tonight, right? You have, you know, the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, a former member of Congress, Kristi Noem, a former member of Congress, obviously Marco Rubio, a longtime member of the U.S. Senate. So a lot of those relationships are pre-existing, but you're right, if especially you are in a state that has something in front of that cabinet secretary, you do want to maybe pull aside, whisper something in their ear, get your issue kind of front and center here, and something they're thinking about now as they walk past you.
Yeah, it's certainly notable to watch and very interesting. These are all the who's who of the Beltway, and these are people we report on and talk about all of the time. I'm seeing, for example, New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, and maybe I think they're Dr. Mariannette Miller-Meeks making efforts to shake the hands of really everybody and say hello. And I just wonder also, Jared, given the promise of such a long speech, how well rested, how ready all of these members are to sit through this, and how prepared they are if we see anybody need to leave or walk out or go home or go to bed. But that doesn't sound like something that is typical. If people go to this speech, it does seem as though they are making the commitment to stay, no matter how long it is.
No, that's a good point. I just want to point out, I just saw Steve Witkoff walk in with the cabinet as well. This special envoy.
He's got to make a quick.
I was
going to
say I don't think he has to fly commercial over there to
Geneva.
To Geneva, is that where they're going? I don't think he's going to be on
Thursday.
But that is on Thursday. But again, I think that speaks to perhaps a little bit of what it is that President Trump wants to highlight, right? Steve Witkoff is not only the top negotiator as it relates to Iran, but the top negotiator to Ukraine. And now, here we go, the announcement.
President of the United States.
And with that, William McFarland, the House Sergeant at Arms, has announced the arrival of President Trump. He is now making his way in, joined by leaders of the Congress. President Trump wearing a navy blue suit, a striking red tie, making his way pretty quickly. He is shaking hands, but he is not lingering too much.
On the move.
He's going to, but listen, these are members of Congress that he has worked really well with. The president has gotten, we talk about how he has not used Congress as much as some of his predecessors, but when he has used Congress, Republicans have had very little margin for error, and he has been able to crack that whip to get everybody in line He talks a lot about late-night phone calls, early morning phone calls he has to make. He doesn't appreciate it. Says he doesn't like talking to people at 2 or 3 in the morning, but he will. Remembers who they are.
We've heard some of them say that he's the one making the call.
Listen, Sure. But it's because he's been told he has to.
Right.
It's almost like, you see those pictures back in the day of Lyndon Johnson, like getting in the face of a Democrat to get something through. President Trump has a very similar way of doing that. A couple members here wearing red MAGA hats, eschewing some of the rules of the House chamber, where headgear is generally not allowed, but exceptions can be made. Who's going to enforce it, right? So here we are.
I think the Sergeant at Arms seems to have more important duties this evening.
Yeah, I think he's probably not going to be grabbing any hats here. Here we go. I'm seeing a couple selfies here. President Trump looks to be in a good mood. Big smile on his face, broad smile, a lot of backslapping, a lot of handshaking, a few more photographs here. You got to have that camera ready. Don't put up the camera app there when the president's walking by.
Don't make him wait. Do not make him wait. Let's see if he shakes the hands of any of the Supreme Court justices.
That's what I'm waiting for, right? So the president's about halfway through the center aisle here, and he is getting closer to the Joint Chiefs. I think, he has made it here to the cabinet. There's Chris Wright, his energy secretary. He'll probably have a prominent role. And the president just shaking hands with the Chief Justice. Shaking hands with Elena Kagan, shaking hands with Brett Kavanaugh, and with Amy Coney Barrett. So the 4 members of the U.S. Supreme Court who are on hand did all get a presidential handshake, now shaking the hands of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane. Other military leaders are in their place as well. We will see how much the president perhaps talks about the military tonight, the importance of these Iran negotiations. You will not see much reaction from members of the military. There's an interesting handshake there. The president just shaking the hands of Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman, who is wearing a suit, by the way, which is part of the rules of the House chamber. And the president now on the dais. The vice president, the Speaker of the House, standing behind him. A couple more buttoning up the jacket. Just sort of straightening the jacket. Taking in the moment, waving to the First Lady, to his family, a thumbs up there at the chamber. It would appear the speech is already on the dais for the president.
I was going to ask, does he hand it to them, or it doesn't look like it?
He should. So usually you have one copy up there with you, and you can see kind of a box next to the speech. That's the State of the Union. He will hand that to the Speaker of the House, and that will fulfill the constitutional obligation of delivering the State of the Union to the United States Congress. The rest is just for show.
We do see
sustained standing ovation here for the president.
We do see a Democratic Congressman Green of Texas holding up a sign in the chamber. We'll try and see what that says momentarily and bring that to you if we see it.
Congressman Green, the one who was ejected from the House chamber about a year ago, shaking his cane, interrupting President Trump in the really unprecedented step of having him removed by Speaker Johnson. The Speaker also has a gavel in a glass case up there with him. That is George Washington's gavel. So, again, part of the America 250 theme here on display.
Oh. Well, that is the theme. America 250.
Absolutely. Tonight. It is. And now the president, after taking in that moment,
members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Speaker Johnson inviting the president to speak. Again, the president is a guest inside the House chamber. New chants of USA breaking out.
I wonder if that's from the men's hockey division of the State of the Union this evening.
Could be.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States. Second Lady of the United States, members of Congress, and my fellow Americans. Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline. Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. Are all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector. We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year, we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. Go ahead. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House. They were in the Oval Office before, and I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup, so we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming, and that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday. So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, The spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together, we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly use the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward. The price of eggs is down 60%, Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while, we're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great health care plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost. In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened. And now I'm bringing them way down on health care and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action, but I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere, the lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more. All available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big, Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the TrumpRx website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new rate Taxpayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
And permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Rachel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year. As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she was here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance. He'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colden was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah